Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, we're doing another MCU Film episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's the Mandarin with me tonight?
Jeez, Mike, come on now. Don't do that. Don't do that at the start. Hi, I'm Bill from A Gamer Looks At. Welcome to the Hotel California. It's the art of confusion. It works on stupid people.
That was good.
And I am Joe Butler, and I can't believe Lil Nas X survived the snap.
I have no idea who that is.
Hang on. You don't know who Lil Nas X is?
Wait, is that rapper that's like a cowboy?
He's also gay. He's very gay.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I do know who he is.
He went from jokey cowboy to one of the most provocative artists of our time. And say provocative, or I don't know. I can't really say. Yeah, I guess provocative.
I love him. He's like the best.
He's got some bangers. That Lil Nas X.
I don't listen to music, so I can't speak.
Industry. It's a really good song. It's pretty good.
All I listen to is Taylor Swift, and even that, I don't listen to music anymore. Lately, it's just been podcast or silence.
Doesn't she have a new album out now, Taylor Swift?
Yes, which I haven't actually listened to yet, Midnights. I don't know why, but I have not listened to it at all yet.
And finally, before we move on to the real reason we're here, have you seen her live?
No, and I won't.
I hear it's the experience.
I had the opportunity. I had a ticket last time she was in town, before the pandemic hit, and I just didn't do it. It was too much money, and even though I already had the damn ticket, but I was like, I'd rather sell it to someone else. I didn't go. But someday. I don't know. I just don't care. I mean, I like her music, but I just don't care I'm not a big concert goer.
Fair.
I'd rather not go and keep the money. So
there are people there, Mike. So that is a problem. That could be an issue.
Yeah, there's a lot of people there. I go to Tiff loves concerts, so I go to concerts sometimes, but they are not my thing. But it does happen.
All right, fantastic. Well, I hope everyone's here for Taylor Swift talk about Lil Nas X. Lil Nas X, the man who is made of abs. Good God, that man is literally made of abdominal muscles. He's got him on his back. It's ridiculous.
So we are here to talk about a movie that took us a while to finally get to. That has been out. So we're here to talk about Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings that came out. Well, it didn't come out that long ago, but 2021. I mean, we were known. I know it feels like. I mean, it took me a long time to get this because when this movie came out, we were doing Marvel movies constantly. People were like, "Oh, you're gonna do this," and I'm like, and then it's been a bit. So
Shang-Chi never came to theaters, right?
No, it did. It was the first it was the first MCU movie after the world ended to come out in theaters.
You know what? I know it did come out of theaters. I saw that fucked up TikTok about it. There was a TikTok where this dude walked in to go see the movie, and there's an Asian guy wearing the Shang-Chi jacket. He's like, "Yo, man, you really like the movie?" He's like, "No, I'm the only Asian guy here, so they made me put on the jacket."
That is pretty messed up.
Right. Oh no! So first, I want to ask: did anyone even know who Shang-Chi was before this film was announced?
No. Did you, Mike? Let me guess. You had like his first appearance book.
No, I wish I did. I seen it.
Amazing.
I know what his first appearance was. I saw the book, and I'm like, I don't care about this character. He's a nobody. Yeah, I care now.
And we had some Ten Rings references in the previous movies. Was it Iron Man 3?
Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 3.
No, 2. Wasn't it 2? Didn't someone from the Ten Rings give Mickey Rourke the passes to the
yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
I forgot about that.
I think 3 had him too. I don't. Maybe.
Well, 3 had Trevor, where he is the Mandarin, but he's not.
That's
Mandarin.
That's not a reference so much as a mistake. But we won't get into
it. That is what you refer to as a turnabout and a retcon.
Well, there's also that little short that they have where he upset the real Ten Rings and that all bullshit. For those that don't know, the Mandarin is supposed to be a guy who is usually like an alien type guy who has 10 actual rings on his fingers that give him powers, and he's a Chinese type villain. I think usually he's set in China. I mean, I don't know all the story with him, but that's the kind of character he is. He's not what. So this is kind of like they went to retcon. Shang-Chi has nothing to do with the Ten Rings. Shang-Chi has nothing to do with any of this. He's just a character that they own, that they're like, what can we do with this character? And then they just made this movie. So yeah, that's. But no, I don't know much. I even don't know much about him. He's not a big character. He was not big in the comics. He's just another martial artist in the comics. But no, I regret that I don't have his first appearance a lot. So.
Yeah, and I believe the Mandarin is usually an Iron Man villain.
Yeah, he's an Iron Man villain, yeah.
Okay, because my weird introduction to that was back in like 2000. They had the Iron Man animated adventures where it was weird 3D, and Tony Stark was like a 15-year-old kid, and his weird Shadow the Hedgehog rival was the Mandarin, and it was like a 15-year-old kid. But that one actually, that one did actually a good explanation too, because it explained like every ring does something differently, and I don't think that carries over into this.
Not at all. But yeah, in the comics, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's actually pretty neat. But okay, this here in this movie, while very effective, they're really cool visually as well. They just kind of do what you need them to do. You know, as a collective group of rings. Well, you don't have to use all of them. Evidently, you can use like 3 at a time. If you need like 3/10 power, I guess, in your punch,
like
you could.
In the opening of the movie, he makes a joke. They make a comment. He's like, "Well, he found it in a tomb, or he found it in an alien. We don't really know." Which are also, I'm pretty sure, are both two of the different stories of how he got the rings in the comics. So I thought that was kind of funny. But like, there's a lot of.
They also make you immortal.
Yes, evidently. He's been around for 1,000 years, and boy, has he not aged a day. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they make a comment about how it made him immortal too. So there is a comment about it. But yeah, no, it's just strange to me. It's not. I mean, I'm happy that they did it with the Mandarin, but yeah, I mean, really, almost everything in this movie was like brand new to me. I mean, I have some comic knowledge. I'm not a big comic guy, but I have some. You know, I'm not oblivious to comics, and I felt like this was kind of like they just went wherever because nobody cared, because nobody knew. So I'd forgotten a lot about this movie.
I also forget this movie because nothing ever this doesn't affect other movies. But I feel like it's a nice break to not have a movie that like is after 5 other movies and then is going to explain 3 other movies in the future. So there's always that.
I agree with that. I like a good standalone. You know, that's kind of why I like Doctor Strange, because at the time it was a pretty standalone thing. Although that's all, of course, spider-webbed into other things. And that's why I like Ant-Man, because again, same thing. They're very singular stories. They kind of beginning, middle, end. And if they never made another Shang-Chi, it would be fine. I mean, of course, they're going to. I think it's already on schedule for phase 8 or whatever phase we're going to be in by the time 2025 comes. But
it's not announced.
It's not? Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think they have announced a.
Oh, they have not.
They have not. Or the second one. I mean, in the end of this movie, there is a little credit scene that says he'll be back. But that's it.
Which, come on now. They have not. You're right.
Actually, the end credit scene does not say he'll be back. It says the 10 rings will be back. So
good point.
Okay, never mind.
Right.
I did just watch this movie too. But
I watched it like last night and went to bed.
Same. I watched it last night and went right to sleep. We should talk a bit about the cast and the director for sure.
Sure.
Just very quickly. The director hasn't done much of anything. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. He did a few very independent dramas, some touching dramas. He did 3 films I've never seen. And then they, again, just in Marvel fashion, they sign up this guy who's probably never directed a bit of action in his life. Did his first movie was called I Am Not a Hipster, which has one of those movie posters with a little palm fronds around like independent film festival, so no one's seen it. Secondly, we call Short Term 12, which is about I don't know, I gotta look at it. Brie Larson stars in Short Term 12.
Oh,
then The Glass Castle. Good. I don't know. I'm looking at the blurbs, but I'm not gonna read about it. And then Just Mercy in 2019, starring Michael B. Jordan, who everyone loves, and I think he's good as well. Who knows what that's all about? These are all independent dramas, emotional. And then Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings and, martial arts and such. So again, it's just interesting how they tap these directors who've never done this kind of work before and had them produce these movies. I wish I read more about it. I like
that, though. This actor wasn't, this guy wasn't a bunch of what the hell do you call those? Those random film things or filler stock photos. He wasn't a big actor, I don't think, at all either.
Who, Simu Liu?
Yeah.
Their show.
I don't know. I didn't recognize him from anything. That doesn't mean a whole lot, but it's I don't think he was real big.
Wasn't he on TV? Yeah, he was on Kim's Convenience, which people adore. Yeah, it's I think it's a Canadian show. Yes, it's a Canadian show about an Asian convenience store kind of life and the family who work it. People adore that show. I've never seen it, but I was told on good. That's kind of where he kind of got his break back in 2015. and did just other work and such.
This
and
is the first movie he did. He was in Pacific Rim as an extra, but when you look at his role, it's just blank. And this is his first movie.
Yes, this is a real. And again, I like when directors do this and filmmakers do this because it's a brand new, fresh face. It's not, and they're pretty good at this, Marvel as well, trying to get unknown or relatively unknown actors to play starring roles because they embody the role. I'm not looking at it like, oh, that's Brad Pitt, playing Iron Man, or Robbie Downey Jr. That's Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man. That is Iron Man. And while Robert Downey Jr. has that issue, this is not the guy from Kim's Convenience playing Shang-Chi. This is Shang-Chi. Embodies that character. So it's a smart choice. He's really good. He is very, very good in this movie.
Yeah, I'll agree. I mean, I know there's some like joke that went out that like he tweeted before this about how he wanted to be in a Marvel movie and be Shang-Chi or something like that. And then they went and made it happen. So there's some joke like that out there. I remember something happened, but I don't have enough information to remember because it's been a while.
I believe it.
Yeah. Well, I think go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad that they went this random route. I mean, well, they kind of have to because they're running out of characters. They don't have
They are. I mean, they tapped the Eternals, which is just we'll get there at some point in our lives, won't we? Won't we, Mike?
We will. I'm hoping early next year. But we'll see. The problem is I have to watch it, so that's an issue there. I don't want to watch it.
What's even a little more interesting is his co-star who plays Katie, a actress who goes by the name Awkwafina, but it's Awkwafina, Awkwafina, and she's relatively interesting. She's a rapper / YouTuber type.
Oh,
yep. She has a couple of albums. She did her last role was in a film called The Farewell, which let me read the description of this because this is something you would think a comedian / rapper actor would perform in. It's a film that follows a Chinese American family who, upon learning their grandmother only has a short while left to live, decide not to tell her and schedule a family reunion before she dies. Ooh, evidently she won a Golden Globe for her portrayal in the Farewell, and that's what led to her being in this film. So she's got some chops too. She's great. Really love her in this film. So fun.
Yeah, no, she works well. I mean, I didn't know who the hell she was before this or anything, but I mean, it's like I felt that all the characters work very well with each other. Like especially like Shang-Chi and Awkwafina, like they bounce off each other really well. And then you add the sister in later, and I think she does a pretty good job of balancing out everything too, and having like that a lot of hatred.
Yeah,
which
the whole cast the whole cast is really well drawn. They have good connections. We'll talk about it as we move through it, but yeah, I think the casting is by and large really spot on. Except for one character you could have done without, but whatever.
I love that part, to be honest with you. So, and back when I saw this movie last year, I remember in theaters, I'm like, I can't wait to talk about Bill with this. A year and 3 months later, I get to talk about this with Bill. But yeah, that's what went through my head immediately when that scene popped up. I remember that. I also, the way this movie starts off, I thought was interesting because it's not, it starts off kind of like having the mother tell Shang-Chi the story of his father and how he became the man, when he's like, I go by many names, and shows him conquering people. And I like it. I like it because, well, one, I mean, they're trying to retcon something that they shouldn't have done in the first place, which it works, but it's just a very cool, I like stuff like that. I like seeing things from the past and seeing, somebody just taking out an army on his own and people thinking they can beat him with swords and spears, and the guy literally is just jumping in the air and hitting you with rings and just killing you. Like, I think I'd be running the other way, but that's neither here nor there.
It has very much New Game Plus vibes to it, where you start off with your weapon fully upgraded and you're just beating the shit out of people.
But it's cool really to see him being a warlord, and then it's like, I like the whole idea. Then it jumps, it kind of shows that it jumps to 1996 and him looking, because he's pretty much, it shows like I think there's even a scene where he's like, they've been around everywhere. They affected, they've done assassinations. They affected people who were in power. I think it shows a couple different history moments. And I remember smiling because, they're trying to connect, saying that they were involved in this and that. I like when movies do that, or TV shows. I like when stuff connects with history. I just get a big kick out of it. And I thought it was just really cool. And then you get to 1996 and you get him trying to find Ta Lo, which Ta Lo is not in the comics. It's a Chinese heaven. It is not this.
Oh,
So,
okay.
in my opinion, this was supposed to be Kun Lao, which is where Iron Fist goes to, which has a dragon in there, so Iron Fist gets its power. My theory is that since they didn't have access to that character because he was still involved in the Netflix deal, this is why this movie came about. That's my opinion.
Oh, are we still doing this with the Netflix deal? And this character is owned by this person because we have to loan.
It was still during this time.
That totally sounds like that makes sense.
Wow. So they kind of cribbed this from another character series that they didn't have access to, and then slapped it on. Hey, could have fooled me. I thought it was cool.
It is cool. It's just that
Magic Town.
When I looked up Talal and on the internet to find out what it was, it's just like it said a Chinese heaven in his first appearances in Thor. Thor ended up going there at some point.
When?
So it was just, to me, that kind of bothered me a little bit because I'm like, and plus I really like Iron Fist, so I'm a little biased when it comes to that. I want Iron Fist in a big movie, not that whatever the hell we got with Iron Fist. So there's just that. But I mean, still cool. But I mean, and then you have him going there, you have him getting, trying, and that's when he meets, their mother, and he has that little duel, which I do like the dancing fight thing. I think that is really cool. Where she just beats the shit out of him pretty much just by dancing, using the wind and everything. I think that's a really cool way to portray it. And then he falls in love with her. Yeah. I did find it funny though. Other people are driving the car when he's trying to get there. They just get murdered. He's like, oh well, he's like, I'll just keep going. you don't matter to me.
Yeah, I had a phase where I really liked martial arts movies, like kung fu movies and such. It was a brief phase. It was like a year and change. I had a buddy of mine I worked with who was super into them, so we used to watch them a lot. And while the ones we watched were the old corny 70s ones, like they weren't like this, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon or anything. Yeah. This reminded me how much I enjoy martial arts.
Yeah.
And how much I love that it really is. It reminded me that fighting within a film is really like a dance. It's choreographed dance. And that's what this is. And this is almost like, I love this opening moment between dad and mom. I cannot remember their names. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I just don't remember anything.
I just call him the Mandarin. I mean, that's essentially
I guess Mandarin's fine. I guess Mandarin's fine. So between Mandarin and the mom, I just love it. It's almost like foreplay. I mean, it's really cool. This relationship is building through this battle that they're kind of sort of having but not having. And as it kind of de-escalates, as he clearly falls for her very quickly and they're no longer trying to hurt each other, or she's no longer trying to protect her town. They are starting to connect. It's a really gorgeous and shot beautifully. It's all lush greenery and rivers and ponds and I don't know what else, but it's fantastic. It's a really great moment.
Really cool.
To quote the main character of Cowboy Bebop, Spike Spiegel, I just love a woman who can absolutely kick my ass.
God, I love that show. It's really good. I mean, I think both those characters, the Mandarin and then Shang-Chi's mother, both they do a great job in this. And the way that you show that he was this, terrible conqueror, murderer, and then he meets this woman, he falls in love, he has kids. Like, you have a small scene throughout this movie, kind of showing, like, right here, you have the mother talking with her son, and, like, he's trying to live a different life. He's trying not to be a killer anymore until things go awry. And I like that. I think that's a very cool concept of where they were going with it. And I feel it worked.
I really feel... Yeah, I'm sorry. It could have been a really boring role for the Mandarin, where he could have just been evil McEvilson and just out for power. But in this situation, they all have very good motivations for what they're doing. And I've said it on the show 1,000 times. Positive motivations for villains are always good, even if they're simple. Because I've heard some other flack about that. Like, well, not every villain has to have, this deep, intense backstory. No. Something simple and powerful and true could be just enough. And I think this is a good example of that. He wants his wife back. He hears voices calling them a siren's call, that they never explain, but who cares? We already have 2 hours and 20 minutes. And he goes and does it because he has the ability and the power to do so. That's basic, standard, good motivation. And I think it really helps here.
I mean, it does extremely well. And like, I like it when it shows this scene and it jumps to the present, and all of a sudden you just have, Shang-Chi getting up, waking up, alarm clock, and just, this random guy just going along his way it lives in a garage, which made me laugh.
Does he live in like Aquafina's garage?
I
I
don't
don't know. I think he lives in his own. I think he lives in his
she was
own
in an
garage.
apartment. She looked like she was in an apartment, and he was just because this is what San Francisco. I'm assuming yeah, it's probably apartments. I'm almost positive.
Okay.
He probably doesn't have two other roommates that live in his house, live in the house. They're taking care of 3 girls. They probably not like anything like that. So
His rent's magically like $200. Like, yeah, good.
Yeah,
I was just wondering because I live in the Midwest, northern Midwest. And I'm like, yeah, you can't live in a garage, but in California, you probably could get away with it.
Yeah, you could in San Francisco. Sure.
Yeah, Minnesota, they'll find you frozen to death.
Yeah, Minnesota.
You'll be like,
you probably hang meat in a garage in Minnesota.
You probably could, yes.
It's cool to kind of see where you came from. He has the pendant, the green pendant, which was very clearly signaled. It's smart when directors do that, because you want to make sure you immediately tie the child character to the adult character. Boom. Now I know that's Shang-Chi. That's his mom. Thank you. Gone. And this is neat. Just like his day-to-day life, kind of just wandering around.
Yeah, I really like how they did it. And then you have the small scene where they go out with dinner with their friends and they're kind of talking about it and they're like, why don't you guys get together? Why don't you do something with your life? And I like that where they're like, no, we park cars. Like, we're happy. Like, and the idea that what they do is a lower job. I kind of like how they play off that in this movie too. I don't know. I just kind of like, because that's what it's going for. Trying to say that they don't, because they're valets, they don't have a real job type of stupidity thing.
Well, it's kind of a service job where they're parking cars for, and it really allows for this very very neat little subversion where the fancy car rolls up and this guy comes out and tosses the keys over to Sean. Sean, as he's known right now, as opposed to Shang, which leads to a very, very funny bit later on. Yeah, but they're having a good time. Like, they're actually living life in a way that I think a lot of us probably wish we could. Joyriding in the fancy sports cars and.
Okay. I got Ferris Bueller vibes from that.
Oh yeah, totally.
It was just hilarious. But it also pays off. It shows that she can drive a car. That's the whole point of that. To show she's a pretty good driver. Like I felt like things in this movie pay off pretty well. Like you said, with the Sean, thing comes around as a joke. Like, things work well in this movie, and they have a purpose. They usually have either good comedic purpose when they do.
There's also
or just good purpose.
It's always weird. I always feel like it's a subtle like wink at like the audience too. I think it's silly sometimes because they have this. They're at their double date or whatever you want to call it, because obviously the two main characters, Shang-Chi and Awkwafina, aren't dating, and it's like they're having a conversation of, oh, you should do something better with your lives. Wink, wink. There's a greater calling out there for you. Wink, wink. And I think it's weird because I had this weird moment where they're talking to their friend. The friend's like, well, I'm a lawyer. And I'm like, she in She-Hulk? Because I don't remember if she was in She-Hulk.
I don't think she was. No.
They had that weird moment where I was watching it.
I also like how the main characters are not love interest or anything. Like, they don't try to do that with Awkwafina or Shang-Chi, which was kind of nice for a change. Like, there's no love interest in this movie. They don't have any of that romantic stuff.
No, it's at the end.
We'll talk about the end, I guess. It's funny. I thought about that when they had that slight little, head on shoulder, head on head, kind of like tired, wistful, like sigh moment while they're watching the things go. I don't know. I read that more as just a mutual affection, but that's not necessarily romantic. I don't read them as romantic at all. Yeah.
It's just me, because that's one thing that I do hate, because they also, at the end of the movie when they're talking about their friend, they're like, oh yeah, we lost a lot of people, and they kind of like touch each other's hands, and I'm like, oh, they are dating. That sucks. But I don't know, maybe
I didn't take it that way either.
Yeah, you don't have to take it that way, which is completely fine. I'm fine with that too. I'm more fine with that than them being in the relationship.
And honestly, Joe, that might have been an active choice on my part to not take it that way. I might have actually mentally said, no, they're just friends with cold hands that they're just trying to warm each other up with, or mutual comforting. You know what? Honestly, you're right. Who knows? Maybe in the next movies, because even then, I think don't they like hold hands? Oh, they link arms to walk through the portal again. We keep talking about the ending.
That can be very platonic, though.
Yes.
That's not
almost sarcastic. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get
that's
there.
not romantic. It was kind of, and it does fit that whole scene too. So I don't know. We will get another movie at some point, but there hasn't been one announced.
As of right now, they never confirmed they're in a relationship. So as far as I'm concerned, we're concerned they're not in a relationship, and I'm completely fine with that.
They shouldn't be.
Please, no, they should not be. Just be a team.
Yeah.
Imagine there was like a big dramatic smooch, like he like pulls her around, or what was it? What dumb movie was it where he like spins her around? Oh, Spider-Man.
It's
He, like
fine.
he flings him out and spins her around and brings her back and giant smooch like.
Wait till we watch Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Man.
And I think my joke was like, "Hey, D'Artagnan, could you just like let her be?" Oh man. Anyway, cool. So where are we?
He gets jumped on the bus.
We have dinner. Then you're like, we should go home. We got to work in the morning. Like, okay, and they go out and get drunk and have karaoke and do karaoke.
So fun. I love that. Yeah.
But also it fits. I mean, you're in your 20s. Like you don't, this is if you're not me or some people, like you're not settled down. You don't have kids. Like you're just out there enjoying life. And as a guy who had a kid at 20 years old, I'm like, that looks fun.
Yeah,
it's fun for me now. But it's also a thing where we've kind of all been there as, I guess, well, maybe not. But it's also this little minor theme that doesn't really carry over anywhere. Maybe it does, but it doesn't really carry over quite too much to the rest of the film, where it's the trade-off between responsibility and living your life. Responsibility and spontaneity. God, I just said spontaneity. Be spontaneous.
Oh, it's not a word, is it?
Spontaneity. There's a spontaneity. That's it. Boom. We can
make up our own words and game my mouth.
We can make up wrong words. Yes.
I've done it before.
Spontaneity and whatever that is. And I like that because it's a trade-off, right? He lives in a garage. He doesn't make much money. He has a job that he probably doesn't particularly like. Although it's pretty neat. He has to drive cars around and that's fun. But in return for that, he has the ability to go out to 2 a.m. and do karaoke with his best friend and fall asleep on the bench in karaoke. Hey, that timer's ticking. You better wake up because that stuff runs by like the hour. So I like that. And they're choosing to just live their life free and clear. But as anyone who is an adult knows and has to go on and do adult things, that will end eventually, whether you want it or not.
Yeah.
So most people can't do that forever. But it's neat to see it happening with our characters because it's nice. And again, they're 20. In your 20s, that's what you ought to be doing, kind of that time of your life where you're just exploring and having fun.
You should, not having kids.
No, please.
I love my son, but oh man, I mean, I look back and I'm like, wow, my life would have been a lot different. So that's all. But
I don't have kids, but that's the economy's fault.
Yeah, that's true.
Fair. Very fair.
I mean, yeah, the way I lived my life back when I was in my early 20s was not pretty. So what you have to do to survive. But it was just it was cool to see how they did this. Like I like how they show him not being, like, because it plays into so much more, and I feel like it pays off even more because it shows like here's this laid back guy, and as you get more history about him, he was not laid back. He was taught to be an assassin. He was trained and beaten and had a very strict lifestyle, and then all of a sudden now he's breaking free after he escaped and kind of having his own lifestyle. I think that's a really cool idea with it too. To kind of, I think is what it's heading to kind of pay off that back and forth. And then you have the small team. They go to breakfast at his friend's house. I think that's hilarious too when he's getting breakfast from there. And like, you just come here and eat our food.
Oh man, what I'd kill right now for authentic Asian food.
Oh, there's just probably a Panda Express not that far from you, right?
Ooh.
No, I love.
Come on now.
I just went to a Chinese buffet a couple days ago up here that I love. I was so scared it was going to close down during COVID, but they did not. I love that food. But yes,
I think maybe Joe be referring to like pho and stuff like that.
Oh, more actual,
not like sweet and sour chicken and pork fried rice.
Although
listen, I'll down some of that. Are you kidding me? I will house some sesame chicken. Come on.
Same. I eat mussels when I go to the buffet because they have mussels there. Mussels with some like cheese something on it, and every time I love just the look I get on my wife's face every time. She's like, "What the hell can you eat those?" I'm like, "They're so good."
Oh.
Only time I eat them is when I go to that one China buffet. I'll eat mussels, and I'll never eat them any other time. But I will load up my plate with mussels.
We can't get into a conversation about Chinese buffets. We can't do it. I grew up going to Chinese buffets. That was like every week we'd have like 4 or 5. We would just kind of like frequent, not at once. And
I don't do it often. It has to be special circumstances where like I haven't eaten all day and I'm hungry enough that I feel like I want to go there, and it's got to be the right circumstances to line up, make me do it.
So, and very quick, because this does tie into movies. I promise it ties in. Then we'll come back to Shang-Chi.
Okay.
We used to go to this one particular one. It was the Green Jade, and I think it's Nutley, New Jersey. And my brother and I'd be finished with our food, and then my mom and grandfather and they all be sitting there sucking down crab legs. and there'd be this mountain of murdered crab legs just sitting, and I'm allergic to shellfish. I can't eat that stuff. Anyway, and I thought it was gross. So my brother and I, we would go next door to the Blockbuster, and we would just roam around the halls of Blockbuster or the aisles of Blockbuster for probably 45 minutes. And that was where I got my early film education. Like just looking at boxes, and like, oh, what is this movie? What's this movie? All the horror movies are all gross. Like I think Brain Dead is one of them. And like, oh man, that's cool looking. So I have a lot of fond memories of Chinese buffets as kids, not because of the buffets, although the sweet and sour chicken was pretty banging. It was more like going to the Blockbuster after and just wandering the aisles, just looking at movie boxes and dorking around and never renting anything.
But that's what's fun. I mean, I learned a lot about movies when I used to work at Target, and I would just read the backs of DVDs.
Sure, there you go. See,
I mean, that was I had a huge movie education just from reading. I could tell you, people were like, oh, yeah, I mean, you show me a poster, I'm like, I know what movie that is. You show me an actor, I'm like, oh yeah, they're in this movie. Like I just knew because I used to just walk around and read because I had nothing else better to do.
Anyway, side diversion. Joe, do you have any fond memories of Blockbusters or Hollywood videos where you grew up?
Yeah, but I also had a Chinese buffet as a kid that I used to love to go to. And it was me and my cousin, and it was the best place ever. And that's how I learned my love of sushi and chewy squids. And then my grandma called the health department and got it closed down. So, that happens.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Why'd she do that?
Because we went in one day and there was like stuff on the plates, and she's like, I'm going to call someone to complain. And me and my cousin, we grew up together, and we're just like, no, please don't, Grandma. And I remember specifically the next day, me and her coming home from school, and we had, like, I think most places have it, the slime in the ice machine. And it's like, oh yeah, you could, we go back here, and the plate, the dishwasher barely works and all this other stuff. So, it's a failing. And then like a week later, my grandma was like, well, maybe they fixed it up, you guys. Maybe they, they finally put it back up. We drove up. It was just completely like closed down. And I remember my cousin giving my grandma the ugliest look and being like, thanks, Grandma. Now we got to find a new Chinese buffet.
Oh man. Just see if you can track down where they go. They're just like a roving carnival, right? They're just going to go to like a different location somewhere with the same broken down equipment. Oh, it sucks. How funny is that though, man?
I mean, I think, I work as a guy who worked in the food service. Yeah. If anybody ever, every single place would be almost shut down. Like I worked in a Burger King. I mean, I remember like, oh yeah, we're supposed to do this. They went and showed me the exact opposite of what they just told me to do. Like, yeah, don't do what I just told you to. Because you'll lose money. Like, yeah, food service is a nightmare. Don't ever work in it if you can help it.
Nothing you eat in a restaurant's clean. All right, that's just what you take it away from that. There's nothing is pristine. Can't be. All right.
The things in Burger King. All right, and then after that you have them getting on the bus. I think you have one of the best scenes of Phase 4 at this time, and probably one of the best scenes of Phase 4 period that you have coming up here with the whole bus, because this is a great fight scene. Oh,
it's unbelievable. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I think my one of the good things I like about the scene is that in the back, they're kind of talking and making fun of this girl who's working on her computer, but in the background, watching it a second time, those guys don't magically appear out of nowhere. They're actually sitting on the bus, just kind of hanging out.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Like the big guy, which we later learn that his name is Razor Fist.
Yes.
Actually,
yes.
Yeah, is actually in the back, like spread eagle, just hanging out. So
interesting. Very interesting. This is pretty spectacular. There's two phases to this. Like there's two parts of this level that our video game characters now going to traverse. The first one, of course, is just that awesome agility, kind of those classic kung fu tropes, like fighting with your jacket, which I just love that. Like he takes his jacket off and uses that to distract and deflect blows and then smack him around and then re-put on his jacket. That is so cool. Banging him against the bars, like using your environment in a very close quarters is really entertaining for me. Again,
it's really good.
It's wonderful because you don't have room to move. There's human beings around. And then, of course, as we all said, Razor Fist comes out with his razor sword, which is the only thing, one of the few things in this movie that's kind of ridiculous. Is ridiculous little razor sword that just appears. Where'd that come from? Is it like up his arm? Like how does that thing just manifest?
He's Mega Man. He's a Mega Man villain. That's how.
I guess. But they have a giant buster though on their hands. Like I don't know where that steel thing come from. Like did it just materialize through 10 rings magic? Whatever. It doesn't matter. Kung fu movie at this point. Who cares? Shut up.
I mean, technically you have where this is technically the future where Iron Man's suit comes out of his arc reactor.
Yeah.
But they do. They do have nanomachine technology, because I think if you go back and watch Hail the King, whenever he's threatening Trevor, the camcorder is a regular size camcorder and it's slowly building a handgun inside of itself. So yeah, they have the technology.
Okay.
And this is also post snap, so yeah, that's all stuff's all there.
I forget what year we're supposed to be in post snap. We're in the because we're ahead of what we're at currently. I don't remember what
slightly, I think, because they're having their I guess dinner, hang out for drinks with their quote unquote square friends, with the lady who she goes, you dress like my mom, kind of.
Yeah, that was.
And they're kind of talking about, their lives and such, and kind of stating that theme of having to grow up eventually. And that's when they mentioned that, hey, a couple of years ago, half the population died with the snap of a finger or something like that. We have to kind of live for the now, because you never know when that's going to happen again. Really good, really cool.
Yeah, I'm also okay with it. They don't go deep into it because we have other things that talk about the snap a lot more.
Oh yeah.
So I'm glad that they didn't do that in here like they could have, because we get that in Falcon Winter Soldier, which came out before this. That goes.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Snap.
I was gonna say Winter Soldier already covered that topic pretty thoroughly. So we don't need to go into more detail.
But no, just everything with that boss. Like I'm with you too, Bill. I like kung fu movies. I don't watch them anymore. It's been a long time, but seeing that scene, I'm like, man, this is so cool. Just the way he fights and the way everything flows, and it's just so damn cool. Like it. And then as the fight continues on, the bus gets cut in half, and then you have them driving around with no brakes, and the driver's knocked out. Like, it's just all so well done, and it's so cool to see. Really like it.
And what about you, Joe?
Oh, I loved every moment of it. I especially love the whole idea of how is this happening? And then it reveals that the bus driver is wearing earphones, and that's why he can't hear them. Just people getting the shit kicked in.
He doesn't realize until I think half his chair gets chopped off or something. Oh no, because he hits the gas or the brake, and the brake doesn't work because they blow out the brake lines. Yeah,
and that seems accurate for a bus driver. I mean, wearing headphones, you're not gonna. I mean, all the shit that probably goes on a city bus that you hear, like I don't need to hear shit. I just do my route.
It's muscle memory at that point.
Yeah, yeah, and then of course the kung fu is always the best part, because we at least have quite a few martial arts cutscenes in this movie. And it's so nice, instead of just seeing guys throw punches at each other or shoot guns at each other, or throw shields at people's heads. So it's a good breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
Yeah, and martial arts like that is very in your face. Kind of to your point, Joe, where you're not shooting Iron Man blasts or throwing shields. You're really up close and personal with the combatants, right? So I think it was so great. All of it's good. I really like the timing of escalation, right? 'Cause everything escalates, right? You have the fight, then you have Razorhand. Now the bus is cut in half. Now the driver's knocked out. Now you have half a bus. You got to get the people off the back of the bus. Like, it's all the stakes. The escalation of stakes is really well done and timed well too. It's a thrilling moment. It's great.
And the random guy filming it for YouTube, I like that too.
Oh, that guy, the streamer. Yeah,
like, it's your boy here.
It's your boy here. Yeah, I thought that was cute.
I mean, hey, the guy's smart. I mean, you're seeing something like this. You get your camera on, you take it. That's how you get viral, guys. Like, man.
It's also a weird cameo. That's the same guy that tells Spider-Man to do a flip in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
That's cool.
Huh.
Why he's in San Francisco and not New York, I have no idea, but
some people travel. I'm not one of them, but some people travel. That's still cool though. Okay, I didn't catch that because I didn't remember. I watched too many MC movies in a row. I don't remember anything. But it's just so good, and that's what really pushes him to realize, okay, the 10 rings are after him, and they steal his pendant too at the end of the scene because he wasn't paying attention enough because he was fighting for his life. And I all that is just, and that's when I really noticed he's in the garage. He's like, okay, I'm leaving, I'm going, and then this is when he tells Aquafina, starts telling her stuff about who he was and about his past. And I think that's good because they really do a lot of flashbacks in this and do a good job of feeding everything in, but giving it to you piece by piece. Like, I like how they did that with this movie when it comes to information. I think they did a really good job of that. Like, I think this is when he talks about how his dad sent him off to go kill somebody, and he knew he couldn't come back home, so he just ran away. Like, I thought all that was good. And the way that they don't give you all the information, like, they don't tell you who he was going to assassinate until later. They don't tell you why. They leave out things in this movie, and they feed it to you as the movie progresses. And I think that was really good.
they also tease my favorite character in this whole movie for later reasons that I will completely make fun of. You're introduced to his dad's secondhand man, guy in a mask.
Yes, mask man, mini boss number 3, as I think I label him here.
Yeah, they had figures of him. They had a poster for him. Yet nothing really. Yeah, they don't do a lot with him.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, because usually when you have the scenes of him training, getting beaten with the sticks and stuff, it's like, my God, can't there be a better way to train somebody than beat them with sticks? But
yeah, it's all pretty good. It's pretty good. Just kind of set dressing, kind of just keeping everything. So you get the backstory, and this stuff's kind of standard. You kind of expect this overbearing dad, unwilling student, smacking with sticks. Training him to be a killer. He's trained since he was age of 7. You know why 7 is that magic number. You learn that later. And then he's 14. They send him off on his first mission, clearly to assassinate somebody. Doesn't return, or so we think. Or well, he doesn't. He doesn't do it.
He doesn't return,
or so we think.
He just leaves.
Bye.
Which makes sense. I mean, asking somebody. I mean, like, there's one thing to train. It's another thing to take somebody's life, especially when you're sent to take somebody's life. I think that's a whole nother level of things. I feel like also, if you go down that road, it's going to change who you are, especially at a younger age like that. No, it's good though. I like how they did it. I like where it goes. Like all that I thought was just so interesting, and I was impressed how much I enjoyed it. And this is where you then you show the sister training too. And I like how you have the plane interruption where all of a sudden they're talking, you have flashbacks, and all of a sudden they're just like, well, do you want vegetarian or beef? We'll take vegetarian. Yeah, I'll take vegetarian too. We're out of vegetarian. How about beef? We'll take the beef. Like, I don't know. I just found that really funny.
I wonder where people get like it's a joke, but like they just magically have money to go fly all the way to China or something.
Yeah, I think they're in China.
That was a weird thing for me. Like, how could they? Yeah, I thought of it because I'm like, how they are barely scraping together money doing valet work. How are they getting a last minute overnight flight to Macau
with passports and everything?
With that passports and everything, it's never explained. The only thing I can think of is I don't know. I can't think.
He had money put away, maybe, or he just or. You know what? Hey, I believe it way better than a guy in South America somewhere put his hands out and they gave him a coin and he ended up in America.
You know what? How many years have it?
Oh, okay.
I
make that joke every time I can.
It's a reference it's been going 4 years now, I think, right? Something like that. There's no smart people doing smart things in this movie, so we don't have that risk happening. But yeah, I don't know. I'm maybe the letter that he got had like tickets or something, or was an account they could draw them money.
The way that in my brain, this is not in the movie, but the way my brain took it is that he just had stuff put away, maybe for a rainy day in general.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, the guy was a trained killer. I mean, I could believe that he, had something, or he took stuff with him when he left. Maybe, like, I don't know. I bought it something like that. Like somehow he had some money.
I think it's funnier that y'all mentioned the Hulk coin thing because my personal favorite is the Batman Dark Knight Returns.
The third one.
The third one.
Yeah. Oh, where he's randomly in Europe or wherever the hell he is, and he comes back to Gotham.
He's in the Middle East, and then he's in Gotham like a day later.
That's right. Well, if you have Bruce Wayne money, I guess I don't know. Maybe he had like his Amex Black in his.
I mean, all he needs is probably his. He probably knows somebody somewhere. It's like, hey, we done business deals. Get me back. Okay, here you go, buddy.
Yes.
I mean, you're that rich. I can buy it.
It's pretty rich.
I mean, that's when you have when you have money like that. I feel like things would be everywhere for you almost. Like doors will open that wouldn't be there for a normal person.
No, he's got the what is it that people are doing nowadays? The cyberpunk thing where they're getting NFC chips implanted in their hands, so you can just walk up to a cash register and scan your hand. And it takes money off your bank account or whatever.
I would gladly do that.
I wouldn't. Knowing me, it'll get infected.
I don't know. I love the idea. I mean, I've said this before, I think, on here. I would get a cybernetic eye if I could. I don't know. If it was a safe thing and a normal thing, I would get cybernetic enhancements. Yes, 100%.
So you would totally Deus Ex?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. I would take some. I mean, if I could see better and like zoom in and record stuff I want to record just with the blink of my eye or something, 100%.
Oh, I'd full go. What is it? I'd full go cybernetic robot. Like it's in my will that if I'm in a coma and they say, hey, we can turn him into a robot, they have to do it. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Fantastic. Excellent. I mean, that's a clause and a half.
And so the whole, like, I think everything with the Fight Club is also so well done where he gets to China, he's looking for his sister, and then the address that he had in the card takes him to this random Fight Club, and he goes in and the guy's like, here, sign this, and he just randomly signs a piece of paper not even realizing what it is. I find
like
that funny.
Because if you're trying to get someplace and someone hands you a thing to sign, and it's in a language you don't understand, you don't read it, you just sign it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I 100%, I get that. Like,
yeah, this is shot in, and well, I think it's actually shot as well and takes place in Macau. And I was wondering, what is this magical land, this magical Chinese land of, buildings and fight clubs and street performers and such? And it's actually a real place. It is not, it's not a part of China. It's its own autonomous region. So it's kind of like no, in China, it's like this little, almost like a province. But it is known for being, from what I've read, the Las Vegas of China. Like that's what this place is. Like I've never heard of it. Yeah, I never heard of it, but it is a real place that is literally that's what you see in the scene. So pretty neat. Wasn't made up. It kind of looks like, obviously I think the Fight Club's clearly made up. They didn't look up some futuristic Fight Club where monsters and aliens fight each other, but
about that part, yes, but I would not be surprised underground. Like I love the idea that they have the underground fight happening and they're just recording it and people are betting on the black market to get to watch it.
It's smart. It's a good idea. Yeah, it's a super good idea. Yeah.
I'm sure there's things out there like that somewhere. I can completely see it.
3 back-to-back Easter eggs in this whole scene.
Ooh.
Which one?
One is when you're looking through the fight squares, one of the people that's fighting is a dude in a like karate outfit fighting a sumo wrestler. That is probably not planned, but I believe it is. It's a weird nod to back when MMA first started. They actually had a martial artist fight a sumo wrestler, and the sumo wrestler got knocked the fuck out. And that's when they were like, oh, we should probably start regulating this mixed martial art matches a little bit more.
Oh, wow. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or a Street Fighter 2 reference. Honda Ryu.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's a fight with a guy from the weird people from Iron Man 2 that glow.
Oh, yeah. I saw that briefly.
Yeah. Which I thought those guys, if they don't take a syringe every like hour, they blow up. But that might be wrong. I haven't seen Iron Man 3 in like forever.
It could have been also referenced to some kind of mutants because, I mean, they're starting. I think at this time, we're probably already, not only the deal was finalized yet, but they knew that it was coming. So they could kind of like just have random people in there that are mutants and not, as long as they don't say the word, they're safe.
And then Shang-Chi takes his shirt off, which is a reference to him always taking his shirt off in Israeli comics.
Oh.
Ah, okay. I thought it was just the obligatory shirtless moment that all Marvel movies seem to have.
Yeah.
It's that too, but it's just like they made him take his shirt off because he always takes his shirt off when he fights, like in the first couple runs that he had.
Okay, that's neat. That is neat. I not to dwell on that bit because I always find that interesting when it shows up. I like his build. He's not like this insanely buff Wolverine looking monstrosity. Like he's obviously athletic and fit. Yeah, or Lil Nas X. He doesn't have Lil Nas X abs sticking out of his forehead. I just like that. It's very relatable. There's a bit of discourse lately about how men can be portrayed in media and have this unrealistic expectation, of being extremely cut. That's like the picture of health when that's not really it. Like William Shatner took his shirt off and he looked like a little doughboy compared to these, muscle monsters. But he was at the time that's fit. Like that's what a fit man should probably look like. Very athletic and classically.
Yeah, not like The Rock because that's called.
Yeah, right. It's right. And there's actors they've interviewed over the years who've said, yeah, in order for me to look like the way I look, I had to not eat for 3 days before that shot, and I was passing out from hunger. That's what it required for so-and-so to get to that state. So I appreciate that there was an actor who, again, clearly very fit, very athletic, but not, again, Lil Nas X. I saw him live at Austin City Limits Festival a month and a half ago or so. It was almost intimidating how in shape that man is. It's ridiculous.
Well, money. I'm sure that helps. And if I didn't have to work and I could just work out instead for a good chunk of my day, and there's a reason to it, like money wise,
If it was your job, well, if it was your job, yes. But honestly, if it wasn't your job, you would just play video games like me. Come on now, let's be honest.
No, it'd have to be my
There's
job.
no chance. It would have to be your.
I already told my wife, like when they had that $1 million Powerball, like if I wanted, I'd quit my job and I would just become a full-time streamer, Twitcher, whatever the hell. I would just go into that with the podcast and just make it and that would be my thing. So yeah, I wouldn't be working out. You're right. But I also love how the guy when he gets to the Fight Club, the guy's like, "You're bus boy," and just because from the YouTube video that was hilarious too. And then you have a small Easter egg which does pay off later on, not in this movie, but pays off later on in the series. With Wong and Abomination fighting, and Abomination looking the way Abomination's supposed to look like.
Was that what that was? The fish gills? That's
how he's supposed to look in the comics. He's not supposed to look like what we got in Incredible Hulk years ago at this point. Like, he's not supposed to look like that at all. Wow. This is the accurate version of what the character looks like, and it works well. You even see when after they have that little fight and he takes him back to the room, he's like, he's taking him back to his cell, which gets paid off in She-Hulk.
Very interesting.
But it's just cool to see Wong. Like, I don't know why, but Wong really has just become kind of this character that just shows up in all the different stuff.
Yeah, that's super interesting. That's Abomination. But that's pretty cool. It's got little fish gills. I like call him Fish Gill Man, but of course, it's so good. Whenever I see Wong, I'm happy. Wong is great. Man, is he good. He's capable and he's fun and he's affable.
He's really become a good character for in Phase 4. As Phase 4 continues on with the shows and everything, they use him a lot. And I like the way that he's become kind of that go-to character for Marvel now. And he's the Sorcerer Supreme at this point, too. They don't talk about it in this movie, but he is the Sorcerer Supreme now. Because Doctor Strange went missing for 5 years.
Well, he lost his role.
Mm-hmm. He was demoted. It's just all good. And then you have Shang-Chi starts fighting his sister. And I think this is another good, he's like, he recognized who she is, and she just like, I'm gonna kick your ass. Like, fuck you, you left me. Like, I like it. And I like seeing seeing a powerful female character. I think it's just really good because she kicks fucking ass too. I mean, she kicks his ass and she can fight. I really I thought that was a really good scene.
What'd you think, Joe?
I love it. You also get more backstory to why she is pissed, because you would think that maybe she stayed there, but like I said, you get tons of fight scenes in this movie, which I'm glad, because I can't remember which Marvel movie it is, and I was really excited for, but there was only 2 fight scenes the whole movie, and I was like, oh, that was lame. So, just a great moment.
It was a good moment. The movie leans pretty heavy into the female empowerment vibe, which, of course, I never mind, because they've earned it. And it's pretty earned at this point. But they do lean heavily into it. I do like this idea of, again, fighting without the intent to kill each other. Like you said, Mike, she just wants to beat him to the ground because she's, he said he would come back and he didn't. And that sucks.
Well, one line that's always stuck with me from a book from the Wheel of Time series. I forget. I don't remember the context. I don't remember the book. I just know it's from that series. There's and again, it's a famous line. Hell has no fear like a woman's scorn. And every time I always think of that line whenever I see stuff like this, yep, that makes sense. I think about it in real life too when I pissed off my wife a few times. Hell has no fear. So I don't know. It's just one of those things that I thought was really good in this, and just the whole vibe of both of them. And I think this is when she kind of he talks about how she's like, yeah, I waited. He said he'd be back in 3 days. I waited 6 years, and then I finally realized I don't need him, and I left because he just never came back. And I think it's good. I think it's a good way, and it plays a lot into what her character is. And then they have that comment. He's like, you run this place? She's like, I own this place. And it shows how much she's progressed with her life than where he did. There's even a comment later on that she makes to Aquafina where she's like, I wanted, if I couldn't have my father's empire, I was going to make my own empire. I was going to make my own. And I like that a lot.
Yep, kind of reaches into that theme again. And that comes up a couple of times, especially there's a moment where Katie and her kind of are talking. And, she kind of tells her the very brief backstory. Yeah, it's cool. It's very, again, it's very intentional, right? This is an intentional moment of a women can kick ass too. And I'm super, super here for it. Always. It's always nice to see that, even if it's really clearly displayed and framed with that intention.
Yeah, but and you have the 10 rings show up, and I love the fact that it was all his fuck up why they showed up. And she's like, you came here? She's like, I didn't send you a postcard. And I like that. He's like, what? And they just followed him. I mean, they knew where she was, but they're waiting for them to both get together and they attack. It's all his fault.
Yeah, I like to think that the whole reason behind that is that because he got that postcard and he thought about it for a while, and they got sick of waiting for him to go meet so they could get both necklaces at the same time. and that's why they kicked his ass on the bus.
Yeah, he was taking too long. He wouldn't go.
Yeah.
They thought that if he saw that he would go sooner, and he didn't. So which makes sense. I mean, and all them fighting on the fucking roof. Woo.
Oh, I'm not.
Not the roof, but like the side of the building. I hate heights. I am terrified of heights. Fuck no. My ass would be like, I'll stay in here. I'll try something else. I ain't going outside. Oh, that's also a good fight scene.
So we're talking about the fighting on the side now. Sorry, I had children. Children came in to say hello.
Yeah, no, you're good. The fighting in the construction. I mean, just imagine like just everything with that. Like he's pushing people off, and I like how Shang-Chi has no problem killing people that are fighting him. Like it's just fucking like fuck you, you're dead. Off the building you go.
And sorry, and I can't imagine everyone like below walking the streets of Macau. Just like all of a sudden these bodies are just like plummeting. The shower of soldiers. They just don't disappear like a video game. They end up somewhere. So, but I love this scene. It's so good. Again, everything in this movie is very varied. Like no fight scene really is the same as the other. And this one again, tight quarters, lots of stakes, things falling. It's just a really great moment. It's a great series of events that really work out well. Well, not that well because everything turns bad for our heroes, but it's just cool.
Well for a movie.
It works great for a movie. It makes for an extremely tense situation. I love the shot. Katie ends up on a bamboo stick, which, let's be honest, why is a bamboo stick on like the scaffolding? I don't understand that.
Well, bamboo is pretty strong.
I guess, but maybe they did it to make it look pretty as opposed to like this steel, girders, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And it wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah, but that's fine. Again, it made for a really good moment as she gets stuck on it and it kind of bends and it's cracking. And it's a one shot. It's a one shot of Shang-Chi noticing she's plummeting. He goes across, leaps upon a series of platforms, and of course saves her at the last moment. And I gotcha. And it's so fluid. And this movie does this a few times with this really cool like one shot. There's one I adore much later in the film. We'll talk about. Really good piece of filmmaking. Very nice and immediate. Yeah, it's really great.
It's more just good martial art. And like the whole fact that they don't win. I mean, he rescues her and then they end up losing. I mean, the pendant gets taken by the masked guy, Mini Boss 3, and in the end, the father shows up and they pretty much go with him. Not exactly by choice, but they don't really have a choice.
We also have this really fun moment where like we said a little bit earlier, he's really not afraid to just kill people because he was totally going to stab that guy in the chest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like that because he's a trained killer, and if you're trying, and that. That idea that you're fighting someone, you're trying to kill them, like that takes away the, I think that you're not just killing an innocent person, you're killing someone trying to kill you. It's a whole different level versus an assassination. And I'm also happy that Shang-Chi isn't the kind of guy who's like, well, I can't kill you, but I don't have to save you.
Yeah.
So I like that we have characters that are, they'll straight up murder you if you're asking for it. Like,
right.
They're not going to go out of their way and try to kill you because they're heroes. But if you're trying to kill them, he's not going to, he's going to do what he has to do.
As the way it should be.
So, no, it's all really good. And they go with the father. And I do like how they end up like, he's like, oh, it doesn't take very long. They lock them up in a cell pretty quickly.
Well, let me just go back up a little bit to his interaction with his dad. The first time he sees him, when he sees his dad after almost killing Mini Boss 2, he looks at him and knows he's done. Like he knows what's going to happen. He knows he's going to have to go back or follow him because he knows he can't beat the 10 rings. And there's still a fear there, like a fatherly fear. Like he sees his dad and instantly feels this dread. And when they approach each other, they go forehead to forehead, which again is repeated later on when they do that before he leaves on his first mission. And that's such a fatherly thing. That's such a familial thing. And as soon as they do that, they're going back with them. There's going to be no more struggle. Father's like, whatever. Those 85 people you threw off the building, they're now littered on the floor with screaming human beings. Oh, we'll clean that up. That's fine. Let's go back to the base in our helicopter.
All right. No, it's just good. I mean, like, they have like a small scene. I think they're talking, and then he like, I'll take them to their room, and it isn't very long before he has them locked up.
Well, they have that dinner, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a dinner, and then they're taking.
I'm stalling before we get to the annoying part. All right. Listen.
There's a dinner though. You're right. There is a small dinner, but then at some point they're locked up in a cell for some reason.
That's because I think isn't the locked up part after they do the water thing and they do like we got a little bit of ways to go before they get locked up because they're in rooms. because you have the moment.
My notes are not accurate.
That's
here.
okay. You have Katie and the sister kind of talking, and that's where she's kind of talking about how I built my empire, and when I started at 16.
Yeah.
And and Katie's like, I'm badass. Again, cool female empowerment moment. There's a number of those things. You get more flashbacks between Dad and Shang, try to show, basically saying to him, one day you can wield these things too. I love the dinner scene where now the dad is expositing, or Mandarin is expositing how they used to be as a family. And I think this is the point where he says, they called me the Mandarin. They named me after an orange.
You're right. That's all this part. This is the water part. Yeah, I must have missed it in my note. So that's what had me confused. Yeah. And then when he goes like, okay, this is when he tells him that your mother's talking to me.
Yeah.
Right, and all that.
And we actually haven't gotten a confirmed of like how she died yet. So it's kind of a back and forth of, well, is it really true, or is the dad just kind of fucking crazy?
I like that they hold that off for a while. I like that they just they just say mom's gone. They don't really go out there. It takes a little bit before you get the rest of that story.
Well, yeah, because you kind of have when I watched this first movie, I was like, oh, well, the dad's a complete shithead. But rewatching it a second time, you do kind of feel bad for the dad. Like he ends up, as much as I don't condone it at all, you have the really weird moment like when they meet and he's like, well, I trained you so you can protect yourself. And, the moment where he's washing the blood off his knuckles and he's like, I need you to be strong enough to inherit these one day. So
right.
I kind of get it, but I also super don't condone it.
I agree with you because they definitely humanize him quite a bit, especially in this moment, because there's flashbacks of him, he hung him up. He realized the error of his ways and said, no, I'm going to hang these up. My wife's going to hang her, literally kind of like separate from her magic village. And we're just going to be regular people, raise a regular family, built off the millions and billions you did murdering people over the course of 1,000 years. But I mean, fine for this movie, it's fine. There's even a moment of them playing like DDR, in front of the, just enjoying time with his family. And they fell asleep on his chest and they just have this really wistful like family moment. And it does really humanize him. And of course, we know why he then picks up the rings again. We find that out later. But you're right. The way this film really doles out this backstory in just the right spots. And I think that lends to the director's dramatic, more kind of drama background. And that's kind of what you have to do, right? You have to, piece this out a little bit just to keep us caring about the main characters and the villains. And as I said before, this is a good basic motivation, right? This is, wife dead. I have a chance to get her back. I'm going to get her back, right? It's that kind of like never dealing with grief or realizing, no, she actually is gone. This voice in my head can't be real. But again, he's seen this magic town. So that could definitely be part of it.
If somebody's lived that long, most likely he's been experienced magic in different ways too.
Yeah.
So,
and all that scene leading up to it with like the water stuff, and I'm watching it right now, like you have the pendant, you have like the way that the Mandarin acts, and he's like, well, I just want to rescue your mom. He's like, and then Shang-Chi, makes comments like, what are you gonna do? What they don't like, hey, we'll burn the town down, and that's when the whole fighting starts, and then they get captured. Okay.
And Joe, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, me and Mike were talking about this a little bit last night because we had a separate podcast last night. Bill, if you ever want a weird frame of reference, Phase 4 is all about grief. Everything from Black Widow being about, it being in the ending with her sister to Spider-Man No Way Home, grieving the fact of losing his own personal life, to this movie about learning to grieve with the mom, and all the way up to Black Panther. Phase 4 is just about dealing with your own personal grief. And it's a really interesting way to look at Phase 4.
It is. I didn't really think about that, but you are right. You look at a lot of these shows. Or the movies too. That's what they're good. That's an underlying theme. Wait till we cover Eternals, hopefully in a couple months.
Yeah, Eternals deals with a lot with grief too. As much as I think that movie's lame as hell.
Bill, have you seen Eternals?
I have, unfortunately. It's not good. It's astoundingly not good, and it's not good for a variety of just baffling reasons. Yeah, Eternals is not great.
Okay.
I have one way they could have fixed the Eternals.
I am curious to hear this.
Make it?
It should have been a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that. I dig that. Gives more time for the characters to actually just be actual characters and not just, stereotypes and extraordinarily boring.
Yeah, because I watched that movie and I watched it in theaters, and halfway through I looked over at my friend and I was like, I have no idea what the fuck's going on.
Nor did they. And they made it. You weren't the only one confused in that movie, so I look forward to covering it. And then when they're in the cell, this is when you have them. They hear somebody groaning and moaning, and you have my favorite scene, the retcon of retcons, where they walk in and they find Trevor from Iron Man 3 in the cell with them, who's the court jester essentially at this point.
You don't really like this, do you?
I do. I think it's hilarious.
I think it's great.
What in the world?
Listen,
I'm gonna take a breath.
It's a retcon to Iron Man 3 where, they make him the Mandarin, they piss off everyone else, like the holding 10 rings, and in a way they come back to it and they just have him here as comic relief. And I think it's funny. I just like Ben Kingsley too. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah,
because he's a hell of an actor.
I'm also more of a fan of also the fact that the weird white guy who decided to burn tattoos into his chest is not officially the Mandarin, and we actually got a much better actor and bad guy as the real Mandarin. So that's also why.
Now it's kind of like this is kind of maybe not excused. That's a bad word of saying it, but maybe because we actually have a better Mandarin, we've kind of like forgotten. Like, oh, okay, Trevor, you're just a victim of circumstance or stupidity. It's really stupidity because he's an idiot.
I never need to see him again. I never want to see Trevor Slattery again in any of these movies. Like, you had your part, you wrapped it up, put it away. Like, there's a Shang Chi.
You barely see him in this movie. You barely see. He doesn't
and that's
do
good, though.
A solid thing. He doesn't do anything. What's he here for?
No, but he's just, he does have the little...
That's why he's there.
He has a little monster that leads them with the no face thing that leads them, that gets them to the world before the Mandarin gets.
Look, if his only role in this movie is to translate somehow, some way, he knows how to speak adorable little couch cushion monster. Because boy, oh boy, I do love that couch cushion monster. He or she or it is adorable, and I would not mind a plush of the little Ottoman monster.
Oh, there is one.
Yeah,
I'm sure there is. Oh, he's so cute.
It's not big enough, but I want one. Like I want it full size, like lap size.
Yep, I want a lap size thing that I can just caress like I'm insane and wonder where it all. I want to caress it like I'm insane and wonder where it all went wrong.
I just really like the retcon. I like the fact that they did that, and then I thought it was good for that part.
When I saw this in theaters, my gut reaction, literal gut reaction, was to leave. I literally felt like, what are you doing? Because I was having such a good time. I was having such a pleasant time. I was enjoying it. People doing kung fu on rafters and breaking down buses and sawing them in half. Just great. And then this idiot shows up with his stupid face and then of course they showed again right away. They showed the little Ottoman, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, he's adorable. But he is. I don't know why him. That's my number one question. Why him? Because he stinks, and he stunk in Iron Man 3, and he stinks now. I did a little extra credit work for y'all, and I did a quick search on the top 10 worst comic book characters in the Marvel Universe. Now, this is just from staff writer. The person who wrote this did not even lend their name to it, and I think this is from a site in New Zealand. So, not saying that's wrong, but there are these 10 characters might have been better, and I'm not going to go through all 10, of course. But I was doing a little research. There are 8,000 mainline characters in the Marvel Universe. 70,000 bit characters. 70,000. They pick Ben Kingsley. Why? I don't understand why. For what purpose? And is it to say that Iron Man 3 never happened?
No, I think it's just
none of us remember it happened. It's
justify the stuff in Iron Man 3 because there was so much hatred about it. I really think that's the whole point of it.
I think you don't have to, though. Like, use any one of these characters. There's a character called 3D Man. He looks like a moron.
No, I know. I have his first appearance, by the way, in comic.
Do you really? Well,
yeah, I do.
Throw it away, evidently. Evidently, he's terrible. There's a thing called Hell Cow. Hell Cow. There's a dashing young man called Leather Boy who he's sporting a ball gag. So that's all you really need to know, which is fine.
There's also a dominatrix villain in the Invader series in World War II. I forget her name, but I have the first appearance to the right of me because I had the whole run of that because I love World War II stuff, and I was like, wow, this is cool. So I bought the whole run.
They list a character called Ruby Thursday. Are you aware of this one?
I am not. I'm aware of Ruby Tuesday.
Yes, the wonderful salad bar. Ruby Thursday, who first appeared in Captain America number 63, is basically a woman with a great body and a malleable red plastic head that can extrude up to 8 tentacles. That doesn't sound bad. That sounds amazing. What's this person talking about?
What?
God.
There's a thing called Paste Pot Pete. Any of these would have been preferable
You
to. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
You're gonna be mad about this, and then they're gonna end up like having a what if Marvel episode where Ben Casey comes back as the Mandarin and he's actually the Mandarin, and you're just gonna be completely mad about it.
I won't watch it. I'll turn it right off. I'll skip that episode. That's an easy solution. I have the power to not ingest media I don't like.
He's not like me.
I had to watch this for this show again. Although this doesn't ruin the film. I will state this does not ruin it.
No, it's just
not at all.
I mean, I get what you mean though. I completely understand where you're coming from and like why it irritates. I everything you said makes sense. Like I think a big part of it was for me because when I first saw this, I'm like, Bill's gonna be so upset. I can't wait to talk about it. I think that was part of it.
I was very upset. I genuinely was. I was upset. I mean, you have again 8,000 mainline Marvel characters. You can't find one that's like a comic character, like that's more of a comedic relief.
They could have.
It's a funnier character that could have served that purpose.
This really was just them trying to retcon what happened that upset people. That's really all this was.
I don't understand how that does though. Like he spits out like what happened. He's like, he spits it out. He said basically this happened because I'm dumb and I needed a gig. So I just did this gig and I didn't realize I was for terror.
Confirm that he wasn't the real Mandarin because there was so much hatred towards Marvel for taking that character and making the movie that we got.
And again, as I stated back in the Iron Man 3 episode, I don't care about the comics. No offense. I think I've read 3 comic books in my life. I used to hang out with my friends in high school. They used to go to the comic book store and I would read like the Wizard thing because there were women with questionable clothing on because I was a creepy 16-year-old in high school. That's literally my experience with this stuff. I don't care about that. I just care about good movies. And that was just a bad choice. And it's a bad choice again. I know other people have kind of softened on it a bit. I have not. I've held on to my grudge.
Oh, I can tell.
Yeah. Golly.
Is it bad that Iron Man 3 is like my favorite Iron Man movie?
Yes, it is.
Stop. Listen, Joe, you're a good egg. I appreciate your takes, and I will just disagree with you. I will kindly disagree and not steal your joy.
Well, I didn't say it was the best. I said it's my favorite.
That's fair. I appreciate the subjective. Hey, I like this the best, but objectively, or as objectively as possible, it's not the best. That's a fact. I can't argue with you a thing that you like the most.
Yeah, I'll never argue that it's the best Iron Man movie, but I will say it's my favorite Iron Man movie.
I remember liking it when we watched it for the show, so I can say that for a fact.
I didn't like that at all either. The whole movie is not very good. Anyway,
that's a good episode.
That is actually pretty good.
They drive through the trees and get to the place.
Yes, Trevor is a human GPS channeling our fuzzy friend. Great, thanks, man.
I like our fuzzy friend.
Fuzzy friend's the best. How could you not
love him?
Oh, Fuzzy Friend's amazing. I just with his wings or his or her again. I can't assign gender to a giant fuzzball with wings. That's not really possible. It's adorable.
And the human GPS stuff is funny. You're like, oh, turn right, take a hard right. It's good. I enjoyed all that.
Yeah, the thing is decent. The maze is cool. It's fine. I don't feel like there was much stakes though. You all kind of know they're going to get to the end. Like,
well, yeah. I mean,
there's not much of a thrill to it. I do like the fact that they found the car with Razor Fist's car, which is an electric.
We didn't talk about the escape yet.
Oh yeah, well it's pretty straightforward. Cool. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Yeah, the sister knocks down the wall. Hey, there's tunnels. Let's get out of here. That's how I escaped 14 years ago. And sure enough, she does. And
I like all that.
That's good. It's fine.
Yeah, I like a lot of stuff with the sister, and I enjoyed them stealing Razor Fist car and all that. To me, was just so amusing too. I thought it was all really well done scenes.
I thought it was neat. It was an electric car. I just thought that was cool.
Yeah, I may be a bad guy and secretly roll over a whole bunch of places, but all our cars are green, no matter what.
Now this is a hot take of hot takes. Is it mean relative to like a lawnmower engine, which evidently expels enough? If you run it for an hour, expels like a horrific amount of just unfiltered carbon dioxide or whatever an engine expels. Evidently, your lawnmower, if it has an engine, is horrible for the environment.
I believe that.
That is a proven fact.
Yeah.
So we should be going electric for all this.
I hate lawnmowers, by the way.
So. Hate mowing lawns. Kidding me?
I hate it. I have a small yard on purpose because I don't want to do it.
We got tricked in our house. I thought I had a small backyard. I do. Our front yard extends like out to the street, to the left and to the property all the way to the right. I had no idea when we bought it. I'm like, oh, we should have a decent front yard. All of a sudden, it's twice the size I thought. Wait, I have to mow all this? Damn it.
Surprise!
Yeah, literally surprise. Oh, here's the layout to your home. Damn it.
You have a push mower or you drive one around?
No, it's not that big. No.
Oh, okay. I hope it's not that huge.
No, it's. I live in a suburb of Austin, Texas. None of our properties are that big. Come on now. But no, it's still a pain because I'm a man of convenience. I like a man of. Anyway,
Get it.
Continue.
I love when we get derailed in this show.
I think you love it. I don't know if the audience does. That's my guess.
People keep listening to us, so hey, I got nothing.
All right. And as I've said in my last show, actually my show that's coming out on Monday, we already got your click. So, so whether or not you like it is up to you. But we thank you for giving it a try, if nothing else. Thank you for giving it a try.
Click. All right, so then they drive through, they get to the place. I really like all the scenes with this town. I like how they get there, and the town folk are like, the old guys like, just get out of here. We don't want nothing to do with you.
I like that too.
Makes sense. It all works well. It's all pretty interesting too, just the way they do it. And like, I like the town. I like all the explanations of the town. Like they're, as they get into it and they see where they're at. And, I think all that's done really well. You start seeing these random animals and birds on fire, and just a lot of really cool stuff happens. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the eye candy.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I think it's all really filmed beautifully. It really captures, and I've read a lot, and that's why I can't say, because I know very little about Chinese culture or Chinese history or folklore or anything. But I've heard it really does capture that Chinese folklore and history very well. That's what I've read, so take that with a grain of salt.
Oh,
and I could totally see that. Yeah.
One thing we forgot to mention is it's when before they talk to Trevor, that's when they finally tell you that the mother was killed.
That's right.
The gang members killed her. Okay, I just wanted to get that out there. All right.
Okay, so I have a really funny joke about that as well as another joke later on. They show up and they're like, oh, a blood debt must be paid and all this other stuff, blah blah blah. So let's say like their parents, the mom and the dad, let's say they were probably together for roughly give a year, right? And Shang Chi says that whenever his mom died at the age of 7 is when the dad ended up becoming, training them for how to kill and all that stuff. So these dudes waited 8 years to show up and don't even kill the guy that they're after. They kill his wife, and they really don't think there are repercussions from it.
Yeah, they think this guy's hung him up for good this time. He probably has him in a storage unit, can't find the key. He was like, whatever, these rings.
Maybe he threw him in the volcano. Who knows?
You're right. You have a very good point. These guys thought they could just roll up. And of course, they roll up with literally 20 people, which they probably wouldn't need because, again, even though she doesn't have her powers, she's a pretty trained martial artist. I'm sure she. And actually, when you see it after, you see a lot of those dudes on the floor. Ground. Oh, yeah, just destroyed. So she held her own, but that's a super sad scene. It's a really tough one to watch. And yeah.
It is. It's a good scene, but yeah, it's hard. And I didn't think about that, but like we were talking about earlier about all the Chinese stuff, that probably makes sense. I mean, I don't know enough Chinese folklore, unfortunately, or their history. I shouldn't say folklore, I feel, but I don't know their myths as well as I know Greek myths. I wish I did. I like Chinese myths a lot, and I like myths in general. It's a lacking in my brain.
You know what's not fun?
Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
You know what's not a fun bunch of fun myths that I've come to realize recently?
Greek myths?
No, Norse myths, because you have
God of War.
Yeah, no, you have Greek myths, which are like, you have a bull that was supposed to be sacrificed, and so the theme is, always make what you promise. Okay, what's this Norse myth? Oh, these bunch of people made a statue after Thor, and Thor got drunk and didn't like it and killed his whole family. What's the lesson to learn from there? Don't piss off Thor. Oh, okay.
That didn't come up in my screening of The Northman, with literally just a giant monstrosity murdering people here, there, and everywhere. None of those myths showed up there. I like that movie. I like that. It was pretty good. It was good. Fast. Yeah. Cool. And then we have after they're told to summarily leave. Hey, but how would they leave though? That's the question. Because if they did this
they
once
can still
a
go
year,
out the gate. They'll just get murdered.
So the guy's literally saying, leave and die. That's basically what that man was saying. He's like, hey, you came here, foolish people, go out that thing, try to traverse. Hey, do that backwards. Whatever you were doing, do it backwards. Maybe that couch cushion will help you again. I don't know.
Well, my guess they could get to the water or the river, but yeah, that's probably about it.
This is like another dimension. It makes it seem like you said, Joe, like heaven, like a literal other dimension, a hidden thing. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean it is, but they can still get out of it. I think
they can still escape it. Yeah,
they just can't get back to it. Is the idea. Plus, he doesn't give a shit. That's the other part of it, you know.
Well, yeah, that's true too. Because when they get in there, it's true. It's clearly through like a portal. Like when they go through the water, it kind of like beads away, and it's literally a portal that they drive their electric BMW through. And I did pay attention to the BMW. It was product placement in this movie is not prevalent, so you can feel good about that.
Hey, at least it wasn't a Tesla.
It wasn't a God, Lord, please. Then Michelle Yeoh shows up.
I like her. Oh, she. If I remember correctly, she was also in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 for a very, very small cameo scene.
Was she? Oh, yeah, she was. Yeah, she was one of the ones in the one of the Raiders or Marauders, whatever they called.
Yeah, and she's in the fuck that movie. But I'm happy that she's in here. I'm happy she gets a real role, and because she's a great freaking actress. So
she's fantastic.
Made me happy.
Of course, I discovered her from the Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, no, she's in that. I need to.
Good.
I love Star Trek. I have not touched Star Trek with any of the newer stuff. I don't know why.
It's not nearly as good as Strange New Worlds, which is great.
That's what I heard.
Strange New Worlds is fantastic. Discovery is like just Star Wars in the Star Trek universe, but it's fun. I like it for what it is. It's good popcorn entertainment.
And then she's in Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I've been hearing I need to watch.
Fantastic. Oh, so good. She's fantastic in that. I was going to mention that as well. So I'm really glad that she's getting great roles and doing well with them because and she got some of that sweet, sweet Marvel money. So cool. Now she can do something like Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is, again,
and she's supposedly in Avatar 3 and Avatar 4, supposedly, whenever those come out in 2024 and 2026. Sure, okay.
Well, I won't see those. That's fine.
If they even come out, because apparently James Cameron said if Avatar 2 doesn't do well, he's just canceling the whole series.
What happened to the 6th movie he was going to make that he's been working on for the last 10 years? Oh, okay. Like, oh, well, we didn't make enough money. Fuck you. Like, you're not, I mean, I know they're going to get my small rant. If they expect to make what they made off Avatar, they may as well just not even bother releasing it then. It's not going to happen. Can say it right now. I mean, it'll make money, but it ain't going to make that kind of money. But no, seeing her is great. I love the whole explanation that they have dragon armor and dragon scales that they use to make all this equipment. I like that. You get a small, brief thing where they talk about the Dark Gate and how, you know, it was sealed away and this world had giant cities, and they go into all that. And they give you just a little bit, but I like all that. And I like the, you know, you have a small scene where they're getting upgraded equipment. Katie's, you know, goes out and does archery. Shang gets dragon armor. The sister gets a cool weapon, and she's training. I thought all that was very well done.
Yeah, kind of said it. Yeah, go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
Oh, you go ahead. Go, Bill.
I was going to say, yeah, they had a lot of upgrade points to spend after all the leveling they had done over the last kind of hour and a half. So they could easily afford like the dragon armor and everything. That was pretty good. Yeah, it's good. It's also good setting up of the world they're in. So yeah, it's a good setting up of just that world as society and kind of also the magical properties of it. You know, dragon scales and really cementing that this is rooted in a real thing, but also exaggerated through this magic. And I like that.
Yeah, there's also like weird tidbits about it too. Like you see how like all the colors of the dragon scales come in mostly white or red, which I don't know if the dragon's also white and red because you kind of see it later on in the movie. I'll probably have to pay attention to that a little bbit later on. Yeah, you have the 80s training montage of everyone learning how to do something new. Takes place over like a couple hours.
The movie that makes a very intentional point to cement that Katie is likely going to save the day, right? Like it's pretty. Once you see her, you know, with the stern traditional kung fu master from the 70s movies, who kind of flip their beard around and look at you sternly. When she gets that bow and arrow in her hand, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. She's going to do something with that to save the day. But it's still effective. It's her contributing. Trevor not doing anything at all during this thing. He gets like a red tunic like everybody else, just so he blends in. And then he does the most disgraceful thing anybody could do because he's useless and terrible. So anyway, let's get back into Trevor. We see Trevor we only see Trevor twice more in this movie, I think. And that's literally the end of him. Again, you could have picked anybody. I'm sure there's like jokey face clown man that is somewhere that came in the 70s, you know, with the giant afro. I don't know. Just
there's lots of characters they could have chosen from.
Of course, there was.
They just again, it was really just they have to apologize for Iron Man 3. They felt, and it made me happy, so I'm okay with it.
You know, Jar Jar Binks, the loathed character from the Star Wars prequels, At least he does something in the final battle. He leads his dopey army of equally stupid-looking creatures. He does things.
And then
No,
he
Trevor
becomes
does.
a senator. He's a senator now.
Well, come on now. This guy, Senator? Really? Senator
Yeah, he's
Jar
a
Jar?
senator.
Oof, please.
Well, hey, don't worry. Things don't work out too well for him because I'm pretty sure they all get killed at some point. So
Just fine.
Yeah,
But my point is this very quickly, is that when we get to the big battle, Trevor does nothing to help. He does nothing. He hides. He pretends he's dead.
he's
For-
acting.
For funzos, because it's really cute to watch the Ottoman like fly on his back like a little good doggy. So I can rub his little tummy and just feel at ease with the world. Gosh, I want one of those. But anyway, we'll get there because we're not quite there yet. We're here still just building the scenes. I think this is the point where Shang-Chi was with his aunt and kind of learns the moves his mom did.
Yeah, he does
to
a little
defeat.
training thing.
So pretty. That's so beautiful.
I really want to talk about this scene for one reason. Mike, when you posted on Shang-Chi, thankfully I saw it because I really want to hop on this movie for one specific reason. This scene of the movie means a lot to me, and which is really weird because of what it is. But when he's training with his aunt, the difference between the mom and the dad is that the dad has more of an aggressive fighting style, and opposite to which the mom has more of a defensive fighting style. But one of the things that also is too is that it's different because they're both women showing him how to do this fighting style. So it could be considered more that it's more effeminate. And there's a really good moment where the aunt's training Shang-Chi and she, tells him to relax his hands and she goes, "Your mom knew who you were, do you?" And I kind of took it as, I'm gay. I have a husband, I'm all this other stuff. And it made me feel a little bit better about myself because men always come off as aggressive and all this other stuff. And they tell him to be more, relaxed and technically even be a little more feminine. So this one scene meant a lot to me.
That's awesome. It's awesome, man. Yeah, I can totally see that because again, and he uses those moves when he's taking on his dad toward the end. And so he's using what he learned. And it's that kind of calm, patient, wait for your moment. Yeah, I love that, man. That's well done. That's nothing to add to that, obviously.
No, that's good. It's also it's just a good scene. I mean, I feel like everything with this leading up to it was all very well done, and I really enjoyed it a lot.
I mean, this isn't my show where I'd be like, so did you find a connection with your mom? Like when you saw this, like did you feel like that? So I'm not going to push. This is not my show. So yeah.
You're in enough of it though, so which I'm happy about.
That's true.
You're a big part of the show, which I'm always glad of.
Aw.
Especially for the movies. You're one of my movie guys. Especially MCU, unfortunately for you, but
that's fine. I enjoy watching these with a purpose. When I watched Eternals, it was for fun, and I was very disappointed. Next time I watch it for this show, it will be for a purpose, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's gonna happen because now that Phase 4 I know is just about ended. I'm actually now interested to try to knock out a bunch of these, and since I have a couple of them already planned, Hawkeye, I have She-Hulk planned, recordings very soon. It's time just to do some more of this crap and get it in the books and get it done. So even though I don't really want to do No Way Home until I cover more Spider-Man, but that's we'll see. We'll see what happens first. And then I do like it when you have after all the reflecting, all like them getting ready for the big war, you have the army show up and they stand off. And I think this is a really good scene. Like everything with this, I do love. There's a joke where the Mandarin, the old guy's like, "Go back," and he's like, "Shut up, young man." And it's hilarious because he's old as hell because he's lived forever. So and it's just hilarious to me. It made me laugh. And it's just so good because the Mandarin is really just so focused on saving the mother and not listening to anything they're saying. They tell him, they're like, it's not her talking to you, it's a demon. It's not what you think. And he's just so focused on this and he's so filled with grief and anger and revenge that he doesn't care. And all he wants to do is, he almost murders his own son. He throws him in the lake, which should have killed him at one point when they're fighting.
Because it's even more fucked up too because he also blames his son for his mom dying.
Which makes sense.
It reminds me of this John Mulaney joke where it's like, "Where were you when your mom died?" "Well, I was over on the bench." And he's like, "Well, why didn't you do anything to stop him?" "Well, I was over on the bench where my mom told me to be, stay on the bench." So I was over on the bench.
It's very much, he's a kid. Sure, he wasn't trained to be a murderer. Even if he was, you can't take out 30, 40 guys.
Right.
It's just.
So what did he want his son to die as well? Like in the process of this? Is that what he died in honor?
It also shows, which I think is I think is real sometimes with people in real life, where you have men that will have more respect for the woman than they do for their own kids. Like they just don't care. Like if the woman's not involved, the kids don't matter, type of thing. And I think that's a big kind of what this was going for too with this villain.
But it's interesting. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say it also goes in the whole thing of I believe the rings are actually physically making him crazy, and maybe it has to do with the fact that he's also way past how old he's supposed to be, because he even goes to the point to where whenever he's at the gate, he looks at the gate and it's like, this isn't like a simple contraption. Like, why would your wife be behind here? And he's hitting it and seeing the demons coming out, and he's still going, thinking his wife's behind there. So
he desperately wants this to be true.
Yeah, I mean,
that's like he wants this to be the case, and
that's also human nature. We'll believe things that we know are wrong because we want to believe them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's a really it's an interesting dynamic of someone being fooled not only by the voices in his head, which is like schizophrenia, let's be honest, but also self-deception. Well, self-deception, right? Like self-deception, we'll just call it that. Where he refuses to, even though someone he loves is saying, "Dad, no, this is not real." He wants it so badly, and it's sad. And it's, even though he is slamming his ring hands against this wall to knock loose scales, again, more dragon scales, which are really cool, or dragon rocks, to seal these creatures in. And bad things are going to happen because it's a Marvel movie. Even so, he has to do it. It's really interesting.
And then we have my favorite part of this other movie, which I believe is great comedic effect, where the monsters come out and then they go, "Oh my God, we guys have to help us." And they go, "We're not going to help you." And you have this guy that I talked about earlier wearing the mask, who's been hyped up this whole movie to be
that's great.
Really
that's
powerful.
Really,
and he gets dead spaced, where he gets lifted up into the air and his soul sucked out. And they go, "Oh yeah, we'll help. Yeah, fuck those things."
It's good.
I like how they join forces. Like they're like, okay, then they find out their weapons are useless, and then they all start getting dragon weapons. Like somehow Razor Fist gets a blade. He breaks off a blade off his spear and puts it on his arm.
Like you said, he picked up a Mega Man power up. He beat a Robot Master, and he fire Dragon Blade Man, and just equipped that. Yeah, it's like, again, one of those things where, like, how did you have a thing that screws into your custom made arm? Again, it's a movie. Be quiet, Bill. Shut up, Rain.
I liked it.
Enjoy the fighting.
I really get it. Like this I think was a really good fight scene too. Everything with this. You have Shang Chi coming out of the water on the dragon. You have them fighting the Soul Eaters. Like, I think all this is just so well done, and just such a. I mean, I know it's cliche, Marvel movie, big fight. Like, I don't care. I that's what I'm here for. I'm here for this. And this to me was super entertaining, and it lasts like about half an hour or more. Like, it's a long scene.
Yeah, this whole sequence is about a half an hour. Didn't we skip over? As we did real quick, the moment where Shang-Chi is at the lake.
We did.
And he admits that you did mention that? I was just fell asleep.
No, I think we skipped over it.
Okay, well, just very quickly, I that is a very good moment of acting and connection between him and Katie. And Katie just sticks with him all the time. Like, you didn't. He admits that he did succeed in his mission and realized he couldn't come back, but he actually did murder the person. So, yeah, pretty good stuff. But yeah, what I like about this battle is it is kind of cliche Marvel, but it's also very small in scope, if that makes sense. It's not a million bad guys, Thanos' army going against 35 Avengers, which again is super cool. Come on now, that was amazing. But this is small. Like, it's just this oncoming force that is very scary, soul eating. They can eat your soul and feed the mother dragon. I like the scope of it. It takes place on basically a beach or a lakeside. So you have 20 or 30 people facing off against 20 or so monsters as they keep streaming out. I like it. I think it definitely lends itself to the source material and to what it's trying to do. It's not this big, ridiculous battle with a blue laser coming from the sky that they're trying to stop,
I makes it work well.
One of the weird things I noticed too, because I've got it kind of playing in the background when we're talking about it. One of the things that they easily could have copped out on this movie as well, because it has a whole scene where he gets thrown in the river and the dragon brings him up. And you even have another moment later on where the sister knocks a bunch of the soul suckers off the dragon's eyes, and the dragon kind of nods at her, and she's like, "Oh, I did something useful." They very much did not cop out and make their mom like a princess or make them the chosen ones. They're just like, their mom was just someone from this town.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she wasn't like the queen of the village or something. She just Yeah, like you said, it's perfectly said. Yeah, it's just she was just there, a member of the community. Yeah, I like the moment when Shang-Chi is in the water and he's slowly, dramatically sinking. Not really drowning or struggling, he's just sinking. And the bubbles, the air goes into his nose, which kind of wakes him up. But I guess that's dragon air. So I guess that's dragon expulsion in his nose. My first thought was, ooh, that's kind of like when you run into a bubble in like Mario 64. Like he just would bloop, 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 then his air thing regenerated. And now he's back in action.
Or Sonic.
Sonic too. Yeah. So it's all of this is very good, and it's good tension building. I think it goes on a little too long for my taste. It does, but in service of drama, which I'm okay with. I just felt this did kind of just stretch out along. Trevor, like we said before, pretends to be dead. He's acting. To which I just yelled, "Die! That's good. Just lay there and hopefully you get stomped by a soul sucker." Soul suckers know you have souls. Well, they just come by and suck your brain out. Perfect. Bye. I don't want to wish ill on even on a fictional character. I don't want him to die. But
you just really don't like him.
I really don't.
Don't worry.
Him.
I'm pretty sure you'll never see this character again. You better not. I will be upset. Like I laughed in this, but I will be upset if he shows up again in anything.
Yeah, I think Sir Ben Kingsley did it one more time as a favor to somebody. He's like, I can use an extra $100,000 or whatever the character like that makes in a movie. And yeah, he thinks
he got paid more than that.
I'm sure. Well, he's not.
He made really good money just for this cameo.
It's 2 days out of his life, to be honest. Like he doesn't,
Yeah, probably
maybe one. One. Anyway.
All right, and then this is when you have all them fighting. You have Shang fighting his father, and this is when all that is really good. Where he takes the rings, like the rings end up coming to him during the fight. I like that a lot.
Yeah, is that like you are now worthy of this kind of thing?
I think
like a
so,
Thor,
and I think
Thor's like Mjolnir.
I think, and I also think because of what he's doing, what Mandarin is doing, that it's affecting the rings, and they are not okay with what's happening either. So they're going to somebody else. That's how I took it too. Because if you release that dragon, it's going to kill everything, and those rings are not from here. So I don't know. That's kind of how I took it, but I don't know if that's what's meant to be or not.
Yeah. What is it? I want to say it's also like a worthy thing too, because I think the idea is supposed to be is that the rings could have gone to the mom originally whenever they first fought, the mom and the dad fought, and she just chose not to take them because she just didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because whenever I think he throws one at her, she collects it, and it changes color to the yellow, and then she throws it back at him, and he catches it back on his wrist.
Oh, I didn't catch that. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then finally he ends up releasing the evil dragon because he kept beating at the gate enough. And the fact that the dragon kills him, I think that's actually a really touching scene. And it's a good scene to finish off this villain where he's dying by the dragon, but in his last breath, he gives the rings to his son.
Yeah, and this is where I also talk about how I remember this movie differently, but I'm glad I rewatched it because it kind of shows as much as the dad was kind of the villain of the movie, he still gave a shit about his son because it shows the moments of them touching foreheads and showing that he actually cares for his son. Yeah,
I like it. I think that it's good that it's there like that, and it makes me happy that that has it. So. That was my thing on it. I mean, oh god, the dragon versus dragon fight. I know it's a CGI coolness, but I really like it.
It's fine.
I love dragons. So watching these two things just fight each other to me, I'm like, just great.
Yeah, I think it was fine. I when I saw it come up, I immediately went dragon fight. It was cool. It was cool. I think some of the CG in this movie is a little suspect. I didn't mention that earlier when they entered this land. Some of the CG is a little meh. But again, you're so invested in everything. It's a very minor little kind of notice. And I'm also watching it on a computer screen, really close up. So I kind of seeing it more than if it was on a larger screen sitting far back. So yeah, no, it's good though. The dragon fight. It's just two big things bopping into each other. And after all of this really intricate choreographed martial arts, it's just these two big brutes booping and booping. And what the dragon is trying to do is trying to cyclone, I guess, and try to sink the other dragon.
It's trying to steal his soul too. Well,
the other dragon is so Red Dragon is trying to steal Good Dragon. I put GB and BD for good dragon, bad dragon. And so bad dragons try to steal the soul. And this is when Katie saves the day. The payoff for her happens where she fires an arrow from 1,000,000 miles away, pierces the other dragon's neck. Bah! he stops, and that allows the opening for the balance of this to happen.
You should not call it Bad Dragon. It's Evil Dragon. Do not look up Bad Dragon. No one Google Bad Dragon.
Oh no! Why? Oh no!
I think I might know, but I don't. Yeah.
Anyways,
I'm just gonna take your word for it.
yeah, it gets to. Does that arrow shot kill it, or is it like give him enough time to actually?
It doesn't kill him. It just knocks him from stealing the soul of the other dragon, which would have then destroyed the world.
Yeah, because they later on refer, because I remember that too. He does what Katie refers to as a Kamehameha into his chest, and it grinds up the big evil dragon.
I think that's when Shang-Chi basically puts all 10 rings inside the dragon and then explodes him.
Yeah,
pretty great.
That's a good scene.
It's all pretty good. And the only thing with this is, especially when they're kind of like dipping around the water and jumping around the shark, jumping around the dragon. It's just a little unbelievable. Like, why can Sis do this? But again, that's fine. It just gets a little hard to track. This is the only part of the movie where everything is just so swirly and dashy and jumpy. And I just found it kind of hard to see where people were in space. But then finally, Shang-Chi is being suspended in the air by a little mini cyclone, I guess. And from destination unknown. And then he kind of just this twist, like, blah, which is very satisfying. Good amount of blorp. The thing explodes into pieces. Pretty great. Boom. Kind of how it worked.
No, this is really good. I mean, I really enjoyed all this with the dragons, and then you have the small scene with he won't let the sister go during all that. Then you have the funeral scene where they're all like, they're putting all the bodies out in the water. There's a lot of dead people, of course, because
it's a battle.
Yeah, and then the movie just cuts to them having dinner with the friends again from earlier, and I think this is a good just funny scene too, where they're like, and they're telling them the story. Like, you're just saying that to make fun of us after what we said 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, just real quick back to the funeral. No big deal. Big thing I feel it's like Chinese lanterns, that kind of thing. They're floating them on the water. And I hope this is the last time I have to say his name. I hope Trevor puts a lantern in the water and pushes it away. And hopefully that is the last thing he ever does in the Marvel universe ever.
He's not gonna come back.
Hopefully that's it. That actually should have been his. Somebody, the little fuzzball should have pushed his lantern out there. That would have been actually better. But
I also don't believe we'll see Talal again either. I mean, there will be a Shang-Chi 2, that obviously, but I don't think we're going to see this. It won't be Talal. That's my prediction.
You think he'll have the rings?
I think he'll have the rings, and I think they're going to go somewhere else with it. I mean, there's lots of ways they can go, with that. And I don't think they're going to come back to this place.
It's been confirmed, and I'll save that for with the credit stinger. So, but yeah, they're having dinner, and Wong shows up.
And then they finally believe him. So the family the friends didn't believe him.
Sorry, Wong can come to dinner whenever he wants. Whenever you want, just traipse in. We got a spot for you, Wong.
That's a funny ass scene though. Like, he's like, I need your help. Come with me. And it hasn't been paid off yet. There hasn't been any, because at the time of recording this, Black Panther just came out. Like, there hasn't, and all the shows I'm up to date. Like, there hasn't been anything yet to cover this yet.
Which I'm okay with. So the after credit scene is them looking at the rings, and Captain Marvel and the Hulk are there. And the one thing that confused a lot of people was, why is the Hulk human? And thankfully, She-Hulk fixed that, because I was rewatching that scene, and he does have his inhibitor on his wrist that he shows off in She-Hulk.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, I didn't really think much about it, but that's cool. I'm glad they did that.
Yeah, but there's two working theories. One is a newer theory because of what's going on. One is that the rings are slowly, because they end off where the rings are emitting a pulse. People said that through Shang-Chi comic, that pulse is going to Fin Fang Foom, and that's who the villain for the next movie is going to be. I'm
100% on board for that.
And the other working theory is that may not be true because of the new Ant-Man trailer, where they said the rings are made somewhere else and they're not sure where. And the reason why the events of Ant-Man and the new Ant-Man Wasp movie are happening is because Lang's daughter made a signal that called them to the microverse. But I doubt that's what they were doing or going for. And I'm hoping they're sticking with the Fin Fang Foom thing.
I mean, it's all the multiverse saga. I mean, that's what this whole phase 4, 5, 6 are all about, multiverse. And we're not going to... It's probably going to blow up pretty big, I think, in 5 and 6. Because 5 is supposedly when we get the 2 Avengers movies, and that's not the end of it. So there's stuff coming. I think it's 5. Maybe it's 6. I don't remember when the hell. But it's coming. It doesn't matter.
And I also like to, when Wong goes through the portal, he goes, Shang-Chi, Shang-Chi, and Shang-Chi goes, here, present. like he's being called on in class, like for attendance. It was so cute, really funny beat. And I like when they walk through the portal, arm in arm, kind of almost sarcastically, like, all right, hey, let's go traipse through this portal and become superheroes now. And I like the fact Katie goes with him. I think he really does need her as not just as a partner, but as like an emotional anchor, to keep him grounded. I like that. It's great. They're friends. They're just like, oh, pretty great.
And then you get the title screen finally. This is when the title screen shows up.
Yep.
Which I'm okay with that. I mean, again, it's one thing we always talk about the MCU thing, when the title screen comes up, and I really enjoyed the credit scene Wong and seeing Carol and Captain Marvel's got to run away, and then there's a small scene where then they do karaoke with Wong.
As one would
so
and
fun.
should.
Yep. Because Wong throws down. Like he throws down a good party. Like he's a really good hang. Yeah.
He's a good character.
That's proven further in She-Hulk, and I'm so glad about that.
Really? I haven't seen She-Hulk, so
She-Hulk's really, really good, by the way.
Yeah, it's
I
great.
know.
So it's Miss Marvel. If you haven't seen that one either, that Miss Marvel's really good. Moon Knight, I can take or leave.
I love Moon Knight.
I know you do.
But
it's Moon Knight is one of the ones that feels very disconnected for the rest of it, which is nice.
Who's Moon Knight? Oscar Isaac?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I can stare at that guy shirtless any day.
Oh, really? I don't think. Oh, does he appear sans shirt in Moon Knight?
Oh, yeah.
And then you have more credits, and you have the last credit scene, which is the sister supposed to be dismantling the operation, but you see she's actually taking it over and incorporating stuff from her Fight Club into it. And I really like that. I like that she didn't just, she wanted an empire, and she's getting her empire now.
Yeah, we're getting more movies that are also establishing more villains, which I'm also okay with, because Loki teases Kang, and then Captain America ends with Shadow Broker, I think it's called.
Yeah, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I'm more on board with it. And then, like I said, this movie technically people think it's teasing Fin Fang Foom, and I'm glad that we're just getting more and more villains, and they're not just trying to do like the first couple of phases where it's like, oh, everything's just gonna wrap up with Thanos. So pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I agree. I like that
sure.
we're getting stuff like that.
For sure. And I think that does it, right?
Yeah, that does it. Then that brings us to Shelf Stacker Box. And Joe, why don't you go first?
Oh, this is totally going on the shelf. Besides the really intimate moment that I had with this movie, I also am a fan of practical martial arts in movies, like you guys were talking about earlier. So this is definitely going on the shelf.
Okay. And I'll go next. This is also going to go on the shelf for me. I enjoyed this movie when we saw it in theaters, and then a year later when I didn't remember a majority of it, I still really enjoyed it. And now that you bring up the fact that Phase 4 really is about grief, I think that makes me want to look at these movies a lot differently now too, to really examine that theory. But I liked it. Go on the shelf. What about you, Bill?
Yeah, this is a shelf as well. So 3 shelves. As much as I would love to see a Trevor redacted edition of this movie, and I promise that'll be the last joke I make. I'm sure it's getting tiresome at this point.
No, that's fine.
It's great. I mean, the martial arts are fun. The characters are well drawn. There's lots of exciting sets. It's beautifully shot. Minor quibbles here and there, but for the most part, it's wonderful and it's a great experience. It's one of my favorites of Phase 4, and I've still yet to see all of Phase 4, so that may change. But yeah, it's fantastic. So easy shelf.
You at least seen Doctor Strange, right, by now?
I've actually not seen Doctor Strange.
Oh, okay.
I forgot that movie existed. I may have to fix this.
It's your kind of movie.
I'm gonna fix this. I have to fix this problem. I can't believe I haven't seen it.
It's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure. I've seen it. Okay, I'm gonna fix that this week.
Yeah, because it's 100% a movie made for Bill Tucker. Okay, I'm just gonna put that out there because I've recorded enough with you. It's a Bill Tucker movie.
Oh yeah, dude. Also firsthand, it is campy, and also it is a horror movie. Keep that in mind as well.
Yay! Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, it's a Bill Tucker movie, and it's by Sam Raimi, and he gets in some of his horror stuff.
Oh, neat. Oh, that's right. Wow. Okay.
And it has your guy Benedict. So.
Oh well. That's reason enough. Please.
It's one of the better movies of the. I think it might. No, it's my second favorite of Phase 4.
Because you're a big cinematography guy, right, Bill?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. There's a fantastic scene where I think Doctor Strange is talking, and behind him it's black and it's showing different scenes, and it's filmed so well.
I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna fix this error in judgment at this weekend at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I hope you do because I want to hear what you think. It'll be a little bit before we cover it because we got to do Eternals, we got to do Spider-Man No Way Home, then we get to Doctor Strange, and I have a lot of shit I want to do in between before No Way Home to get ready for No Way Home because I feel like if I don't cover the other stuff, it doesn't do it justice.
Right. And also you have to we're gonna do also. I'm not sure if you've announced any of the holidays things or like the holiday stuff yet.
Yeah, the poll's up. Hawkeye's been announced. We're doing Hawkeye.
So Hawkeye's been announced. Okay, so we're gonna do Hawkeye. Okay, I wasn't sure if that was announced. I didn't want to like spill the beans.
It's been announced at some point. I've said it before. Yeah, well, it's happening, and once I say it, I have to do it, so it helps make that happen.
Cool.
Hawkeye, the Christmas TV show.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's great. That's why it's gonna be a good time to watch it.
Recording She-Hulk with 3 women because that's perfect for that type of show. So.
Oh, cool. Did you get Helene on?
No, unfortunately, no, I didn't. Tiffany, my wife, and 2 of her friends.
Right on. That'd be fun.
Because it's a very women empowerment show and a very this is one quick thing from She-Hulk. There's a scene in the first episode where Hulk's like, "Well, you got to control your anger," and she's like, "I'm a woman. I have to control my anger every single day of the way I live." And it just, I'm like, yeah, this is it, and that's just how it starts off. It's good though. It's a very sex positive, female positive type show, and it's very interesting, and it breaks fourth wall, which is hilarious too. So
yeah, I watched it with my friend that I watch my Marvel stuff with because my husband hates Marvel stuff, and she is in fact a woman, so she loved it to death too, as did I.
It's really good like that, and I don't know. It was that first comment where I'm like, yeah, I wasn't gonna do it, but it was just something that just kind of happened, and that's also where I'm like, I need to fucking get more shit done with Marvel for Phase 4 now that it's done, just about done, and then we can wait till next year to cover the damn Guardians thing. That's got to be Christmas. So my goal is to get caught up, or at least do that next Christmas. So we'll see how things go. All right, and Bill, where can people find you at?
Yeah, I do a little podcast called A Gamer Looks at 40. It just goes through. It's a right now we're going through a retrospective of the Legend of Zelda series. This retrospective is going to go probably to at least February at this point. The episodes are just getting too big, so I'm chopping them up into pieces, and then it's just extending the timeline. Much like a lot of the Marvel stuff is extended way too far, but I do think these are good. Just telling the personal stories of people's connections to games and consoles and eras. Our beloved Mike Albertin has been on the show a numerous amount of times. Joey, haven't had you on, and we have to make that happen. But yeah, so basically just wanted to, I just completely stuttered and faltered on my plug that I've done a million times on this show. Gamer Looks at 40 on Twitter. I also I set up a Discord now. So yeah, I don't know how to get people to join the Discord. I really don't. There's like a link that expires in like 5 days.
You can set it so it doesn't expire, but just be careful because that's what I did. I thought, and it still expired, so I made a new one.
I see. That's the thing. I know none of these things.
I don't know much about Discord. I made one too, but I don't.
Just like bots and stuff and programs and scripts you can run. I don't know.
You can use it for recording. A lot of people use it for recording too. I do not, but I'm glad that you made one. I joined it. So
yeah, you're there. Hi. And you can be there as well if you go to unless Twitter explodes between now and this is released. Then you can't go to Twitter.
This comes out in December.
Twitter may very well explode between now and next.
Twitter's going to. I really think Twitter's going to fall apart. I think what's going to happen is he's going to run it to the ground, and then somebody else will pick up the ashes and put it back together.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to fall to the ground. I actually don't think so. I just think
he's going to be.
I read a very interesting thread about what's happening, and it's gross and awful and inhuman because he is gross and awful and inhuman. But it kind of makes sense. I don't think it's going to fall apart, but I don't think it'll be the same. Which
I just want to see him gone at this point.
It's not gonna happen.
I know he's bought it, but he also overpaid, which I don't think is going to end well for him. So I mean, I know he's got money; it doesn't matter. But still, I mean, to overpay something for like double the price, it's not exactly a sign of real good businessmanship there, you know.
To quote a good friend of the show, he is referred to as Phony Stark.
Oh, that's really good. Oh, Phony Stark is very funny. That's exactly it.
I was watching.
Not to get into an Elon Musk conversation, but he is literally like Andrew Ryan. Like he's like a Bioshock villain. He is. I was thinking about it. Like, man, his philosophies are extremely Randian. Like it's the 90% are driving the 10% down. You're like, hey, they're human beings. Could we please?
There was a funny I was watching Big Bang Theory last night, and I got to an episode where it had him in there. It's like, I was giving too much gravy at the soup kitchen, so they sent me back. I was being too generous. Like, buddy, I don't think you're generous. Like, I know you're trying to act like you're a generous person, but I don't think you are. I don't know. I found that funny.
Anyway, sorry.
No, it's fine. Oh,
So Twitter is where you can find me.
Hey, he's in MCU related. He's in Iron Man 2.
That's right. He is in Iron Man 2. Yeah.
So it's related. No, it's just the whole thing is just so stupid. And again, there's a funny, now that you got me up, and it's the end. I don't care. I'll go off topic to the end of these shows where people actually stick around for everything. There's a funny thing that there was a meme that, or a post that went around where the guy, like, they fired the guy who was in charge of the car. He said, "Hey, can you come back and help us fix it?" And again, that's a real thing. After I got fired from my job, and I purposely didn't show them how to correct all the cards. Because I was like, why are you asking me, like, the day before the day they fired me? Like, oh, hey, can you show us how to do the cards? I'm like, well, that's weird. I always do the cards. So I purposely left out a step because I'm like, this is a little strange. And then that a couple days later, they're like, hey, they asked Steve, like, hey, can you ask Mike how to do this? And I'm like, it's just like, I can ask, you ain't going to tell me. I'm like, no, yeah, you're right. I'm not going to say a word. Fuck them. But it was also my thing, like, before you fire someone, maybe you should learn how to do their job. You know, one of those things. It just made me laugh. Like, that's what it made me think.
They're human beings. It's not just numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when people are trying to do things, you might want to learn a little ahead of time and not make them suspicious where they see a resume on the desk to replace their job that is exactly their job. Like, and then you're asking them to teach you stuff the next week.
We're gonna do a knowledge transfer. That's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna knowledge transfer. Make sure more people know this stuff than just you, because it's not.
Yeah, and it's the same. A week after you take me off the Facebook for the business. That's weird. That was my job. What was this? You're trying to tell me something. So yeah, don't do things like that if you need someone to train you how to do their job before you fire them. Make sure you don't make it obvious. I look back and now I find it funny that I have a much better job and I'm happy where I am. But I just look back at like some of the stupid shit. I'm like, oh god. All right, enough of that. If you enjoyed this episode, you can find over 400 other episodes of this podcast that we do. We do movies, TV, comics, games. We do all sorts of shit. Go check out our giant catalog. You can find everything on Podbean if you can't find what you're looking for on Spotify or iTunes, because it only goes back so far. We done all the MCU movies before this, a couple of the shows, or one of the shows at this point. So definitely go check out that giant catalog if you want to go listen to our whole MCU craziness. It burned me the fuck out and took me a year to get back to this, really. So I'll go listen to all that. And want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hell Hash Fury. You can follow her on TikTok. She makes TikToks. And what else do I need to say? Please follow us. We have Discord. You can join our Discord and talk with us. You can support the show. Join our Patreon. For a little $1, you get to vote in our Patreon polls we have every month. I don't know what it will be for this month, but definitely go check that out. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube with audio only. And I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.